Stop fear. And fear is the mind killer. And fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will forbid it to pass over me and through me.
Knowledge is power. But how you use that power defines whether you are good or evil.
And he's like, and she's like, well, it said that you were going to go on his show for an interview or something like that. And he mentioned Jerry Cthulhu, and so I was like, yep, that was me. Because she put something like, no, before that she put, well, I wish I would have known about this. So I was so
wait, I'm confused. What she knew about what?
This interview, like she had no idea I was connected to this hive at all, you know.
Oh yeah, you're connected.
So, oh yeah.
You're in it.
You're in deep.
You're not getting out either.
No way. Secret societies.
You gotta get it.
We're the
to get
secret
out.
society.
I mean, people know how deep this goes.
But anyway,
wait till
so
Nomad
then I
gets
messaged
here.
her. I messaged her and she was
Oh,
like,
it's all a distraction.
but we set it up and now I got the interview, so now it's good.
Okay, so
That's
wait,
so
how was I
awesome.
involved in that? That's what I don't get.
Because the dude mentioned you.
What dude?
Because it's
I
on your
don't know.
channel. Somebody on Facebook
Yeah, someone on Facebook.
mentioned to
Man,
her
friends
that
with
somebody
Jenny.
was talking about, a YouTuber was talking about her.
In a good way,
He
right?
said it was Jerry Cthulhu,
Yeah.
that she was going to have an interview with them. And she's like, I didn't know about that. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that was
Oh,
me.
okay.
I'm connected to this. I'm connected to these weirdos. And we
I
were
see.
talking about you.
I totally get it. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tell her to reply to my friend request.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Friend
Yeah, well.
request.
You called her Jenny Moonbeams.
No, that was an accident
I know it was an accident.
and a compliment.
Yes, it was a very
Yeah,
good compliment.
Moonbeams. That's a good name.
We all compliment her.
It's
We're
her
all
eyes.
in love
It's
with
her
her.
eye. Yeah, it's her
She's
eyes.
so beautiful.
Great big eyes.
Love her energy is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So
Hey, are we live right now? It's
Yeah.
it's 13 after.
we've been on live.
I don't know.
for
You better
3
play
minutes.
that thing.
For that thing. I already did. We've
I
been
love that
live.
opening.
Oh, so we're done live?
No,
Man.
grim.
CW wants to chill too. What is CW? What do you mean, Omar? Omar is saying CW wants to chill too. I sent.
What?
Really?
I sent him.
I told CW to come on.
I did send him the link.
So did I.
I told him earlier. You gotta come hang out.
He's gonna steal this
Hanging out?
show.
Good.
It's all right.
Crap.
It's all right. I'll just sit here and be taking notes.
Oh, maybe
I realize
he's
that's what I did
not
last
meant-
time for like the first hour and a half. I have like 2 pages of notes that I don't even remember writing down.
That's awesome.
I still have to go back.
Maybe you
to
were
it.
automatic writing.
Ooh.
I don't know. Because I just kind of fade out like when you guys are going
Yeah,
on shit that
I
I have no
know.
idea what I'm talking about. So I just listen
Or
and
like
just
you
write
just want to roll
shit
your
down.
eyes until your eyes aren't there anymore.
George Webb figures out depleted uranium is code for pizza and hot dogs. That's something written down.
I said that. Yeah, we talked about that last week. Nomad's here.
Damn, good job, Grim. Because we
Yeah,
can't
there's
remember
some notes
shit. I'm glad you're taking notes.
Something, and all it says is Hillary is a cunt. So I don't know what that was about.
That's perfect.
I have yet to
Perfect.
find any news reports about Wasserman Schultz throwing anyone else under the bus. I've seen stuff about her panicky and scared, but even that's on /Paul on 4chan. So I haven't seen anything.
No, that bitch is scared.
Maybe. We don't know if any of this is true.
I know. I'm kidding. If I wasn't kidding, I would be like,
If I was her, I'd be
Seth
concerned
Rich, Seth Rich was just a distraction.
he might not even be dead. I heard today, who played? So I can't remember who played it, but it was Lift the Veil has a 20-minute video out about Aaron Rich, apparently obstructing the investigation of the detective that they hired, that Rob Wheeler guy. That's really interesting.
What's his face was talking about that. George was talking about that.
Yeah, I think that's why
about
I
how
watched
he
it.
went to his funeral and his parents were like really weird.
What?
And told him to leave it alone or whatever.
Hello, friends.
Hey,
Hello, Nomad.
Hello, lover. Boy. Lover boy.
Giggity.
Remember that band?
Secret.
Lover boy?
Giggity.
We need to make like a secret agent man.
Secret agent man.
Secret agent.
I know how to sing it in Spanish. Hombre
I'm not cooking anything.
secreto. Hombre secreto.
It's never gonna get old.
Nobody can even hear it. Nobody's even listening.
Everyone, go ahead, play it.
It's okay.
It's just a squish.
I'm not cooking any beans. I'm not cooking any beans.
Hilarious.
No, you are not.
They will have no context of what that means.
I don't think there was context.
That's the best part of it. That's the best part.
There was. Sean kept egging me on, like triggering.
She wasn't flicking any beans, that's for sure.
Chanter's not coming. Wuss.
Why? Come on, Chanter.
He doesn't give me a reason. I don't think I'll be able to make it, but I certainly do appreciate the invite. You're welcome.
Why was he saying he would come then?
I don't think he never told me he'd come.
Tease.
His youthful hot blood.
I want him to wear those crazy white glasses. I should get my crazy white glasses.
Oh, I know. Those are good.
Your Katy Perry glasses?
No,
Yeah.
the Willy Wonka, Johnny Depp Willy Wonka glasses.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
The white
Okay.
ones, not the
But
red ones.
Yeah, the red ones are my everyday glasses. I wear those every day.
No, those are your Katy Perry glasses.
Who's Katy Perry, the singer lady? She's hot.
You know Katy Perry.
I know now.
Every
So
Ramsey.
every time I bring it up, you're like, "Who the fuck's Katy Perry?"
I don't. The
Oh,
name.
yeah.
I don't have. Storage space for her.
It's
I'd
not
say
random
that's a
enough.
good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing. You're not at fault for that, Jerry, for sure.
But one day she'll come in like a wrecking ball,
You
Jerry.
said come.
Did say come.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, what were we talking?
So Jerry,
Yes, sir.
I can't play.
what is your take on NASA?
God damn it.
Ask Brandon. I'll go last.
Never a straight answer.
Yeah. I'm not up for
Very
arguing
good.
tonight.
My take on NASA
It
is
doesn't have to be an argument.
No,
It could just be
I'm
a
just
conversation.
kidding.
its origins are sketchy. It's now a Department of Defense installation, facility, whatever arm. I think of it as the Hollywood of of the military. Like, I think most of what it does is data management and manipulation through their computer systems. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that they do, but all we see is the computer-generated version of it, you know? So what is it that they're actually doing?
Besides stealing our money?
That's I mean, it's not irrelevant, but that's a side issue. What do they do with all that money? All we get are pretty pictures. What new technology has come out of there that has benefited the country? What do they?
It's all secret.
And it's all secret, and all they produce is CGI.
Yeah, that's the thing that's obnoxious.
Well, apparent from who was that guy that said that all the equipment to go to the moon, they can't go back because they destroyed all the stuff?
They don't have the technology to go back, is what he says. Don Pettit or whatever his name is.
Don Pettit, yeah.
Yeah.
He said that they destroyed it.
And apparently a
And
rocket
then we-
won't be able to be developed for like another 2 years to get us there, which I don't understand that either.
Because they can't get through the
That makes
Van
no
Allen
sense.
radiation belts,
You know,
allegedly.
is it spelled PETIT?
I believe so.
I believe so.
I believe that's pronounced PT. If I'm not mistaken, I served with someone whose last name was spelled like that, man. We called him PT.
We've heard him, and that we've actually heard his name said.
They call
So
it. He
most of
calls it
people
Pettit.
didn't know.
He calls it Pettit.
Yeah,
But
Pettit.
It's actually
He
French
calls it
word.
Pettit.
It's French word for
He probably doesn't want
small.
to be
It's the French word
Just
for
want
small. It's
tea.
pronounced petite.
Petite?
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So I
So
really
the
think what I
thing-
think NASA is a front for all the unacknowledged special projects.
Do you
way
think
to
that
get
when
that
they
Launder
money-
lost
money.
Wait, I think it's a
the
way for like.
technology?
I think it's a way to get the money into the system, not legally, but accounting wise, correctly.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it's like a
did-
front in a way, or the
Yeah.
face of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, but
money
it
laundering scheme.
prevents. It's like the deli that the Soprano guys hung out in. You know, it looks like
Yeah.
a deli.
the kind of money I heard going in there is the kind of money that seems secret space programming to me, man.
Yeah,
You'd
it does.
have to look at their books. There's
That totally
regular
could be.
money going in too. But yeah.
No, I'm on a new hunt. I'm looking into helium.
Oh yeah, that's a good one to look into.
So they're going to be testing
No.
these F-18s and sonic booms, but for about 2 weeks, beginning on August 21st, they will be just flying F-18s testing sonic booms. And
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
not suspicious.
Yeah.
What are they
Right on the
hiding?
eclipse?
What are they
Yeah.
covering up with that?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'll put the link in
Told you
chat
there was
too.
some fuckery coming.
Oh yeah.
Also, would you believe that we already have the technology for some kind of aeronautic vehicle that's completely stealth capable?
Oh,
we
definitely.
do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
What about the
It's
X-37B
almost-
that's been flying around for, or it was
SR-71?
flying for like 2 years?
Right, exactly.
There's another one too.
And
They
that's
fly it out
even,
of-
I think that's just stuff we know about.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, but they let
there's
us
a ton
know.
of shit we
You
don't
know,
know
Put
about.
it this way: the TR-3Bs
distraction.
have been retired. You know,
Yeah. There's one that they fly out of Beale,
and we've never seen one.
and they close the airspace, which is like 45 minutes from me, and they close the airspace when they're testing it.
You said testes.
Testes when they're testing
Yeah,
it.
she did. Yeah, she did.
I'm not cooking any beans. I knew you were gonna play that.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my god, Sean. Where's Kilgar?
So, Brandon, what's your NASA answer? We can go around the room.
Well, I would add something maybe. The people that work there aren't not bad. They're nice people. Like my cousin worked for NASA. My girlfriend's dad works for NASA. My best friend's dad worked for NASA and stuff. Really good people, and there is a lot of. But I agree that it is a front for military defense research and development.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Could
all
it be
compartmentalized.
even the public face of DARPA that we're looking at?
It's
Well, I mean, DARPA's
Totally.
the public face
Maybe.
of DARPA too, but
yeah, and all the universities that are militarized now.
Well, that's all
Absolutely,
DARPA
yeah.
tentacles because of the
MIT
internet. I mean,
started that way. Yeah.
the whole internet was developed by DARPA at DARPA. Email was developed there, and then they let it out to the universities first. So the university systems were the first connected to the internet
System.
ever.
Yeah.
That was even before the web. I mean, it was just for email and.
Wait, I thought that they were connecting. Wasn't it the Stanford Research
Yeah. Sorry,
Institute with Stanford and?
They're on a college. Yeah.
those are colleges though. But what they
No, I know.
that's
but wasn't
after
it
what I'm
Stanford
and when.
Research?
Sorry, the education system
No.
expansion came once it was made public. That's what I wanted to.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
It wasn't when it was developed first. They had it for a few years in the government.
Oh, I thought it was for rocket, all those rocketry stuff they were doing. Stanford and all that stuff down.
Another interesting
Vandenberg
thing
and stuff.
Who knows?
to contemplate is, didn't the origins of NASA have some kind of like occult influences?
Yeah,
Huge.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did
Werner
that's what I
von
said. It
Braun.
had sketchy origins, and
Parsons.
yeah, Jack
Yep.
Parsons. I was just reading about him
So
yesterday.
weird.
This is crazy.
Project Paperclip.
Wasn't he like? Didn't he roll around with like Crowley and all them?
Operation.
Yep.
Yeah, he was actually the founder, I guess, of the
Pasadena
Lodge of the OTO. It was Crowley's deal.
He's married to Marjorie Cameron, who's related to James
Correct.
Cameron.
Is she? I was
He
trying to
actually
find
did
links for
not-
that.
The plot thickens.
No, wait. I I could
does.
not verify that.
L. Ron
That's
Hubbard. Yeah, and then
Time started.
Right, L. Ron Hubbard stole his wife, Parsons' wife, and ran off with his cash.
and there you have
There you go.
Scientology's. You know,
Yeah, but everybody says that Jack Parsons was the founder of.
I was getting there.
But it was the Guggenheims
JPL.
that founded it. Yeah,
Well-
it was
well-
the Guggenheims.
While all this
Oh.
shit was going on with his magic, he was doing all this rocket experiments, and he founded the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, started it up.
The
And
Guggenheims funded it.
yeah,
Guggenheim.
Guggenheim's fund a lot of shit.
Yeah, I just read that. I was shocked.
Right, Marjorie
Okay.
Cameron was the Scarlet One. And they were going to do the Babylon working. It was a big ritual that they were getting ready to perform, or may have performed. I think that's the one they did perform, and it opened up some kind of gateway and portal and let shit in, and he regretted it every day after that, and died in a mysterious explosion after being completely erased from the history of NASA. NASA was started in that time period. It's like 50 to 60, I forget the years, 50 to 60 in there.
I think it was
And
56.
the government bought JPL and started NASA without Parsons, and he blew up after that. He blew it up real good.
but like Captain Marvel's based on. Actually, the Marvel name is based on Jack Parsons. There's a lot of.
Well, that's his
Like,
his
he comes
true
down a
name.
lot
His
of
real name is Marvel Whiteside
Is that right?
Parsons. Yes,
Really?
yes.
Oh, okay.
His real
That's
first
pretty
name
cool.
is Marvel, and that was his
So like
grandfather's
Marvel
name.
Comics, man. Like he's all in our culture, all over our.
If you want to
He's
really,
totally embedded.
if you want a good visual,
Words are magic.
yeah, if you want a good visualization of who Jack Parsons was, think Tony Stark's dad in Captain America.
Exactly. I thought the same exact thing.
That's
Yep.
what I would
he
use
worked
as
on
a.
the Manhattan. That's basically it. That's basically him. Tony Stark's dad.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
But
Yep, absolutely, man.
not into magic, black magic or whatever.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was. I don't know. There's some storylines where what's his name? Stark. Papa Stark.
Tony? Oh,
no,
his
his
dad?
Yeah, I forget his name. His
Richard?
father's name. Richard Stark, is it?
Dick Stark.
So
That's Dick Clark.
yeah, but he was into rocketry and like sort of the rock. It's been comic books. They have so many different multiverses and storylines. So
There's an Illuminati. Howard
Howard
Stark.
Stark.
Howard Stark.
he ran into Doctor Strange one time, and it was a lot of fun. So
Howard
He,
Stark was
they
also the
run-
first Avenger, by the way. Oh no, never mind.
There you go.
I take that
Yeah.
back. Was the name
Oh,
of
he
the
wasn't.
Captain?
I didn't-
That was the
okay,
Captain
I was
America
gonna
movie
say.
title, not him. Never mind.
anyway, but Jack Parson comes down for us in a lot of different media that we wouldn't automatically recognize him, but they're just
No.
very
Which
big
makes you
figures.
wonder, why is that?
And
That's strange.
And in some ways,
Hmm.
for some reason, I have Howard Hughes going in my head because Howard Hughes was also that mad scientist type, but didn't make the jump from airplanes to rockets, and then
Right,
became a recluse allegedly and died
right.
holding
Allegedly.
Kleenex. I think right was it Kleenex?
That seems to be true.
Well,
With
no,
a bunch
actually,
of pee bottles around him.
no. I've heard the exact opposite. That's not true. That was a cover story. He was
Really?
He was
Yeah, I heard that
somewhere
too.
else working. I want to say it was in Antarctica, or maybe
I think he
All
was.
goes back to Antarctica.
Yes, it
Of course,
Always.
does.
You know.
I don't remember the story, but he allegedly the story is he was working on a top secret project somewhere else and not dying. And then
Yeah.
probably that whole story ended with, and he's still alive
Yeah.
now in a cloned body. But whatever.
Well, you know what's
Clones in Antarctica.
the
Always.
Aviator is a really good
I
movie.
love that
still
movie.
think.
Well, no, I don't love that movie.
You
It
don't
is a
like that?
decent movie,
I
The
thought that was
movie.
great.
but the fact that it's a movie, it makes you kind of wonder if that's what
Like-
actually happened.
What I realized
It-
is that the movies shape our historical recollection.
Narrative,
That we tend to
Yes.
remember the history that we're taught. It's kind of cemented in our brain with the movies. Look at
Yeah, but if you go there thinking that it's programming and they're trying to
of
get you to
course,
think this is the real history, then you can just say, okay, I'm going to look into it deeper. I know it's way more nuanced, but this is kind of like one take on it.
okay, the 400 people who actually would think that do,
Yeah,
but everyone else goes in and
Ugh.
Good
you know
point.
that How many people knew of or know the true story of Apollo 13?
I don't know.
Not enough.
I'm sorry.
I don't think
Before
I
the
know the true
before the
story.
before
What's
the
the
movie.
true story?
I don't think I know it.
Let's hear it, Jerry.
Oh, I don't know.
There was never no Houston. We have a problem. I think.
Yes.
Wait, so Tom Hanks wasn't there?
No, Tom Hanks was not there.
Man.
Damn it.
Blowing my whole memory.
The story is that the Apollo 13 was supposed to go to the moon, and they had a problem on the way, which was essentially fatal. And through the ingenuity and cleverness and quick wits of the Houston team and the crew, Kevin Bacon and Tom Hanks, they were able to repair the ship and turn around and come back and live.
Well, they probably are both Time Lords, so they really could have been there.
Perhaps. And I don't know the true story. I knew of Apollo 13 before the film, and I thought it was actually a hoax at the time because it sounded so unbelievable.
What about Challenger, Jerry? Was that real?
I don't know.
I've seen some videos where they're identifying at least lookalikes.
Here's the thing.
That might be the people that were on the Challenger.
Let me tell you something.
Very similar.
NASA hires...
No, exactly the same names.
NASA tends to hire a lot of people who are twins.
Yes.
Yeah. The Kelly boys? Were those two astronauts?
Yeah.
That were just... The dude was in space for like over a year?
Let me rephrase that.
Nobody hears about him?
NASA presents itself as a company, or whatever, an organization that hires a lot of twins.
So when one of them dies off, they can go, "Hey, well, that was my twin brother."
No, it means they can have the guy in space and a guy on the ground at the same time.
Yeah, so they could test to see the biological effects, right? Or so they say.
You missed my point. They say they hire twins.
I always miss your point, Jerry.
They say they hire. They present themselves as an organization that hires lots of twins, but they don't. Perhaps it's a ruse to get you to believe that the guy on the ground is the twin of the guy in space, but it's really just the guy on the ground.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was my point, but you totally missed it.
I did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's all I thought of. But I'm sorry. Before Apollo 13 movie came out or anything, I mean, I knew about it when I was 14, 13, young. I was young. So I was a, Star Trek geek, Star Wars geek, everything. Still am. But my group of D&D guys, our club, we all said, it's bullshit. It's not true. It's propaganda. But then the movie came out, and now it's like, oh.
And Jerry was woke before woke was even a term.
Dude, I read the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson at 14, 15. I was 15 when I read it the first time. I invented woke. Didn't. Hello? It's 22:33. I thought maybe everyone was going to drop right now.
I was going to say I was 6 when I read that, but then I didn't say it because
you were 66.
In the 1800s.
Oh, I heard something on the radio
today. Reading it on stone tablets.
In Sanskrit with cuneiform.
I was making my own fucking clay, all right?
Yes.
You guys see Tracy Twyman on Higher Side Chats?
I listened to half of it so far.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
She's
talking about like how Bloomberg has the city of London and like it all connects. Pretty cool. It sounds like a Da Vinci Code, but
who left?
In the city of London, kind of a cult.
Yeah, he's Killendale.
Oh.
Yeah, he's building like the most expensive building ever over there or some shit. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's insane.
On top of the old
oh yeah,
building it on top of
Temple of Mithras.
A temple, yes. Of Mithras.
Yeah,
that's right.
I remember hearing stories that the Vatican was doing some Mithras worship at some point. Has that all been relegated back to what, Jupiter, Zeus stuff now?
Right. No, I think I don't know, but I
Or is
know
this some
that
other secret
Christopher
society
Nolan-
I forgot about?
Well, the Sons of Mithras go back a long, long time. They are like a secret global society that Da Vinci supposedly belonged in it, and a lot of different people. But yeah, they're basically solar worshippers. Cosimo de' Medici as well, people like that.
No,
Enlightened, noble philosophers that brought about the Renaissance and stuff like that.
if that
guess
even
so.
happened.
Well, that I don't know. I mean,
The Medicis are interesting a
Yeah.
lot. They have they were all, weren't they redheads?
Gingers.
I don't know.
I always picture them as
Maybe.
redheads. Probably because I saw a movie where they were redheads. But no, I always
Maybe.
picture
I
the
think they might have
Medicis
been.
as like the Merovingians, a fork in the Merovingian bloodline or some other rival bloodline to them. You know, in that
Okay.
ilk. Not the you know, the like the what's the word I'm looking for?
Venetians.
The predestined divine rulers of the, you know, their bloodline. However the elites feel now, the elites, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the Medici, the family, I've studied it a bit, and they're just their ascendancy to power, and then how they took over Florence, because there wasn't in Italy wasn't a country; it was just city states at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like Naples was a whole country to them.
Mhm.
You know, it was like the southern part of Italy, and then there was Rome, and then there were like basically like these little feudal cities that were just, you know, ruled by very few elite, you know. But in Florence, you have, I mean, Cosimo de' Medici, he's the one that translated the Hermetica, and he said Plato can wait, and then they finally, you know, translated Plato from the Library of Alexandria, papyri and stuff like that. So he did carry out a very important task of doing that.
So they had exposure to the PGM, did you say? They translated the PGM? Sorry.
The Hermetica.
Okay, the Hermetica.
Like you know, like teachings of Hermes Trismegistus and things like that.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if those are the
a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, this is late 1400s or something like that, and people credit that with the Renaissance. You know, like remembering the old alchemical ways, and it sure was like a Rosicrucian Renaissance or Enlightenment, I think. But anyway, side topic: Sons of Mithras, the Temple of Mithras, which is where Saturn is entombed, according right.
Yep.
Which is in the Greek legends. They say that he's entombed in the Isles of Britain. And it's just very interesting, man. And Londinium.
Yeah, that's the Roman
Londinium
city.
is present-day London.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the city of London is covered with all these... I've been there, and it's covered with what they say are lions, but they're stylized dragons,
Yeah.
as far as I can tell.
They're
Yeah,
griffins,
so.
aren't they?
They're dragons.
Yeah, sometimes they look like dragons to me.
They do have some griffins, but yeah, they're mostly the lions.
Lion
really
dragon
dragons.
type thing, yeah.
But there's something important about the animals
Mhm.
on the shields, because each family line has like a spirit animal that's represented in that
Right.
coat of arms.
A lot of times you see the lion and the unicorn, and the unicorn represents the moon's aspect. The lion represents the line of Judah, line of Zionists, that basically the royalty and if you look at the unicorn, usually has a chain around its neck, meaning it's in subservience to the royalty. So these are like your chevaliers and chevrons and people that do work for the royalty. So that's the idea, I think, of the coat of arms. But maybe it's tied to some kind of spirit animal as well. Yeah.
Or maybe it's their astral form. Who knows?
Right. I don't know. But the lion's also supposed to represent a dragon, which you don't see on English coat of arms very much.
They have four lions on their coat of arms.
Yeah.
No, I've always had the impression that the dragon symbology in the shields and coat of arms has come from the Pendragon family line, or
Yeah, and that's the Uther Pendragon line, which is King Arthur.
Right.
Yeah, so that goes way back. And my friend John is he has a Guggenheim grant in high school, and not high school, in college, grad school, to basically study the historical Arthur. So he's been all over the UK looking for this stuff, and and he's blind, which is interesting. But he pretty much nailed it down to somebody. He goes really into like accounts of the Gaelic Wars and all kinds of stuff, man.
He had to pick the hard quest, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did. He's too smart.
It's saying though. I mean, when you listen to
He is.
Uther Pendragon name, and also where that comes from, because Uther had a brother, and also a father, obviously, and mother. Carries on through the evil line too. It's kind of also an allegory on sort of Cain and Abel and evil and good and stuff like that.
You could also say
man.
it's
the mystery schools.
It's an overlay. It could be an overlay of the Christ story too, to some degree.
Yeah. Oh, totally. 100%. I was gonna say, yeah. Exactly.
I've always thought of it more as upgrade.
Yep.
Like the
Yep.
If those
romance and
right, if those people really existed,
yeah.
And
like
Merlin, or even if he was just an older mythological guy to a group of people who were in that medieval magic stage, that is a perfect upgrade to the Bible. That makes it more pagan.
He represents, in modern times, he represents John Dee with a long beard, court magician.
Merlin?
But early on, he was more of an outcast member that could travel between the worlds of Avalon, which was a hidden. Arthur was supposedly born and went back to die. So now where he's supposedly, if you go to I forget the name of the college, I think it's King's or Queen's College in England, Merlin's grave, and it's a giant 3, 4, 5, 6 acre flower ground with like a lake in it. And they say Merlin is there, and he's the giant in the ground. He's the waker waiting, the sleeper waiting to wake, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get that. And so C.S. Lewis in his science fiction work, his space trilogy, at the very end, he has Merlin being resurrected from the earth to fight off these archons and stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, there's something to that, man.
Second coming.
Tracy Twyman has that Saturn.
Yes.
Or this character we call Saturn underneath the city of London. That's where she pauses. I think it's fascinating. I want to check that out.
I've actually
it's totally fascinating.
I've heard that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what's Randy Green's story. That
oh really?
The entity that the Dark Brotherhoods, or the bad guys are feeding this entity that's Baal. And that's where it's centered at, and that's like its heart center. And there's a huge energy vortex there. Apparently all the banks are on energy vortices.
And the churches.
Right.
That makes sense.
And having a thing on top of an energy vortex that is not good makes it transmit bad energy on the grid. It reverses the polarity of and it transmutes it to negative energy. How's that? So anything that goes through it either loses its positivity or goes completely black.
But what makes a bad vortex or a bad energy point?
I don't know. I don't even know what that really means. That's just stuff I've
heard. It's so interesting to think about.
It is. I mean, I know the concept of what it means. And a vortex would be where two or more points connect on a grid.
Ley lines.
Or where major points connect, I believe, are the vortex point.
Yeah, I totally believe something like that exists. But what would make it negative or bad compared to, say, a positive or good vortex?
Well, we can't really perceive the energetic implications of our day-to-day life, right? So
maybe it's both at the same time.
I think it is, and that's
and it's up to us to channel it or
transmute it. Or
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm saying a bank, its function here represents in the energetics maybe something really negative. And maybe that pollutes the vortex.
Yeah, kind of like I said, it's up to us to actually transmute it.
Right.
And things like banks and corporations, they're taking that energy and transmuting it in a negative way.
Right. And
that enslaves people, essentially.
It makes them want to buy stuff. Money's addictive.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask Nathan. He was born a poor black child. Had a special
Well,
purpose.
it makes you wonder, too, sometimes why a lot of wars are
He
fought.
was super excited. Sorry.
What, Nomad?
I was just saying, sometimes it makes you wonder why some wars are fought. I mean, a lot of them, yeah, they make sense, but there's some where it's like, what if there's something else going on there where it's fighting for something like an energy point on
That's
the
what they are.
planet,
They're
or
energy
in,
points.
That could very well be the case.
and then not only that, but it could also be maybe ancient technology or something like that.
Like why we went into Iraq and raided all the fucking museums.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is
Right?
a very popular story.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes, it is.
Who knows?
That
Who
there's
knows?
ancient technology,
Story.
which, you know, what does that even mean?
Ark of the Covenant.
But it's all over the Middle East, but it's buried.
The
Well,
Ark
wasn't
of
it
the
said-
Covenant is
wasn't
here in America.
No, it's in
Right?
Ethiopia.
Weren't they
No,
worried
it's
that
not.
there was a weapon of mass destruction?
Well, some
some
people
point,
said
like-
that there was, and they've
Yeah, they're
Right?
supposed
But
to be.
does that mean a nuke, though?
no,
No, it's not a nuke.
The story.
No.
it's not a nuke. It's some
uh,
kind of scalar weapon, like a particle beam weapon or something.
Who has
Something.
ever?
Like
Who?
a disintegrating ray gun, planet size, like a Death Star.
People just.
That's what I heard.
Do you
it
know
was.
that they were
It
experimenting
could-
with how people would just, people. There's people that supposedly would burst on fire and then just disappear.
It's like
Spontaneous
human
combustion.
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
It's still a thing.
Well, they were
it's still a
fucking
thing.
with that. Yeah,
It still happens.
It's probably some kind of energy weapon they're testing.
DARPA. Yeah,
Or maybe it's the nanobots that they were like original nanobot experimentation.
Don't
they were
laugh
just
at the
fucking like a
nanobots. Shut
like a
the fuck up.
Samsung Note.
That are
They
embedded.
just exploded.
That's how they make Pringles. They're pressed nanobots.
I love Pringles. Shut up.
I do too.
Oh, man.
GMOs.
All right, who has
Oh
ever
yeah, give me them gems.
witnessed lightning
It's
without
modified.
thunder?
Me.
Modified means it's better.
It happens all the time.
Okay, was there a black cloud coming up from where a bunch of antennas are and the lightning was in there?
No. But I've seen lightning, like heat lightning. That doesn't really have thunder. And
Yeah.
lightning that crisscrosses across the sky, horizontal lightning, doesn't really have much thunder to it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And there's
There was-
lightning balls.
Zero thunder.
Ball lightning?
Ball
Ball lightning's
Balls of
crazy.
lightning.
Because you know
we don't
thunder
get-
is
we don't
just
get ball lightning here.
the sound
It
of the
happens.
static electrical discharge.
Yeah,
Right.
well, there
What do
was
you mean you don't get ball
no.
lightning here? I thought it was like a
thunder?
nature phenomenon. I thought it could happen pretty much anywhere. Ball lightning.
No, there has to
No,
be
we
Or is
never-
it just an
never had it in
isolated
California.
location?
the just right atmospheric
in-
conditions.
In the south.
But it wouldn't happen in Antarctica.
Probably
Oh,
not.
man.
Do you want to hear my really cool
Yeah.
story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 3 flashes of lightning go off when I'm dropping off Jack at like 10 o'clock last night. And the last one was super bright, and it was coming from, I was across town. Well, not like halfway across town. And it was coming from like over by the base and by where they have that old US Navy radar station. So I drove out my little country drive where I go, and I could see there was like a cloud. It was shaped kind of like a fun. Well, it came down to a point, but not like a point. It was probably about a half a mile or a mile apart, but but it was very formed, and it came up from the ground, this black cloud. Like, I don't even know if it was a cloud. It was just blacker than the sky, and it was kind of bright. Or I mean, it wasn't that light, but I mean, I could clearly see it. And it came out, and then the lightning was inside of that, and then it started coming towards me, so I moved because I was under a power line. But it was weird, and so
You think it was a UFO?
It's weird.
no, I don't think it was. I think it was like an energy weapon or something. I don't know. Maybe it was just fucking lightning. I don't know. But I've never seen a cloud like that. And one of them, like, there was an arm that came out.
Do you have a
and it started
picture of
coming
it?
towards me. I couldn't because my iPhone doesn't.
Then it didn't happen.
At night.
No picture, no happen.
Yeah, Pixar's
It
not real.
happened. I don't lie about this crap.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Yeah. There's interesting things that happen all the time.
I know, but I'm just.
I
like,
mean,
There's not enough
what
cameras.
the fuck? It's right over that end.
right?
Bigfoot.
Over that. Those antennas, and they've been putting up more antennas.
There was
Where
a crazy
they
purple beam of light coming out
there
of the
was
sun tonight.
I saw. No, I thought it was pink.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, pink, purple, whatever.
That was cool.
Was cool.
Mm-hmm. Pink's not a real
Sorry,
color.
I got a little excited.
Ouch. I heard
Thought I
I heard a
saw
really
something.
cool theory about why the sky is blue. That there's actually the atmosphere is composed of many gases, some of which is neon, and this idea is that the electrical charge within the atmosphere is igniting the neon and making the blue glow. Like when the sun's shining through it, there's some electrical current going through there, making the sky blue. Because that is the color of one of the neon. When you put a certain voltage through neon, that's what you'll get. I thought that was good. Very interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
Isn't it
Very
because
interesting.
it's mostly water? Water always shows up as blue.
That's what they
Oh,
say.
man.
That it's the blue, the light reflecting through it, like water molecules in the air. But if there's that much water flying around in the air,
I can see you talking, but I'm not hearing anything.
who, me?
No, Aaron.
Aaron, we can't hear your microphone.
Yeah.
I don't think flicking it's going to help. He's flicking the beam. He's flicking. No. Nada. Check your microphone input selection. In Hangouts. Go into Hangouts, the gear icon.
Oh. What's up, Niche?
Hey, baby.
Hey, Niche.
With the new mic and no bangles.
New mics? Oh, yeah, you got the Yeti. That's right.
I can't hear you, Niche.
Oh no.
Nobody
she's
knew.
muted.
Oh, she's
Wait,
muted.
okay.
Okay.
Am I there?
There you
You're
are.
there.
You're there.
Yes.
You're good.
I'm now a part of the Yeti tribe.
Nice. Welcome to the tribe.
Cool.
Glad to be here with my dragon spit-proof thing.
Yeah, I got a dragon spit proof too. The dragon pad.
I really hate it when you spit.
Why is it a waste?
You guys let me know when you can
I'm
hear
not
me.
clicking any beans.
Oh yeah,
we
there
hear
you
you,
are.
Aaron.
Oh, you got me? Cool.
Wait, you got to play that for Nish. Oh my god. I'm not clicking any beans.
Everything's sounding good.
Did I hear
Think
that
we're all good.
correctly? Is there somebody that said that you could hear me?
We can
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
you're here.
All
Sound
right,
good.
cool. Great. Great.
Did you hear that, Nish?
I did not.
What didn't you hear?
I'm not clicking any beans.
Oh my god.
She's not flicking her beans.
That's awesome. Slap, slap, slap.
Sean, yes.
So anyway, I don't know who said it, but somebody was talking about asked the question why like wars are being fought, and then posed that maybe they were actually fighting over these Lagrange points.
Nomad.
Yes. Yes.
Also, let me just throw out there too. What if the quote unquote weapons of mass destruction were actually articles of knowledge?
Mm.
You
Or
know,
artifacts, maybe even
Those-
of knowledge.
Are we talking about like those emerald things that John Irwin found?
Emerald tabs?
Who knows?
No,
Who
they
knows?
weren't. They were holographic storage devices, allegedly.
you know, speaking speaking of weapons of mass destruction and ley lines in the same breath, I guess some of you, P. Farrell, I don't know how familiar you are with his work specifically. He writes about several nuclear tests, including one known as the Castle Bravo test. You guys can look that up if you like. Where these are by far none of, they're not any of the first nuclear detonations, and we are talking about physicists who were very good at math and calculating the yields of the output, and they were very, very good at knowing if we build it sorry for the feedback. They knew if we build it this way, we should get this much yield. And the Castle Bravo,
he would come too if they built it right.
Sure. They got yields that were far in excess of what they expected during the Castle Bravo tests. And there were some other tests, and I don't remember their code name specifically, but there were other tests where they got much lower yields. Pardon me 1 second while I adjust my automatic snowball microphone that keeps wanting to turn itself up. Sorry. Every time I smack it, it goes down, and it should stay there.
Ooh, that sounds much better.
Thank
you.
you.
There's no more echo there.
Sorry, I had to smack it for those of you wearing headphones. But that's the only way to
beat it.
If I grab the slider and I move it down,
Slapping and smacking.
I'm going to do it one more time, by the way. So it went down to 70%. If I do it that way, it'll stay. But if I grab the slide bar, the freaking thing wants to crank itself back up automatically, and I don't know how to.
That's what she said.
So anyway, they were getting more yields and what they found was that it was the location of the detonation point.
You're talking about the Project Camelot guy that was on?
No, I'm talking about Dr. Farrell, some of the writings in his books and the things that he discusses. But I've had him on my show, and we even talked about it. So anybody who wants to go and listen, you can go find it specifically.
This is footage from the Castle Bravo.
Castle Bravo, is that where Himmler's castle was?
Shit. See, that I don't know. I don't.
No, that's not Himmler's castle.
I don't think so, because if there was an association with Himmler, I'm pretty sure Dr. Farrell would have brought it up.
This is just nuke stuff. I got you.
Yeah. So anyway, these nuclear tests, and specifically one you can look up is the Castle Bravo test.
Yeah, that's what I got on screen sharing right now.
Oh, is that why my screen went white? Because I got nothing but white screen right now. I thought my computer was glitching.
No, I'll stop sharing.
Drop me the link. I'll broadcast it.
My other tabs are all blank and white. At least I've got toolbars to work with.
That would make a great bumper sticker. My other tabs are black and white.
Oh, shit. Maybe that was. I might have to leave and come back. Anyway, so that was the whole point I wanted to bring up, is that what they finally discovered was, because sometimes they were getting much higher nuclear yields and much lower nuclear yields on certain occasions, and they discovered it was the lay points, it was energy lines, where it was the location of where they were detonating.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there was a guy that took that work, and he was on Project Camelot twice. And not too many people can understand what he's talking about, but he looked at every single yield of every single atomic blast.
I saw that.
You see that? And he was like, do you understand that? Like, he was like drawing like a connection. I don't know what he was saying, man.
What he was saying is that the largest
who was that? I'm going to write that down.
I will look up his name, but he was talking about he was mapping the solar, I think it was solar activity, or like solar stream activity or something like that. Cosmic rays, inbound, and
Paul Laviette.
Paul Laviette?
Oh,
yeah, yes.
Can you explain it better than I'm about to?
No, carry on, Jerry.
I don't know. That's why. So basically, he had these on days when the activity that was being measured that was not nuclear was high. They had the highest tests of nuclear material. So on days when they did like 100 megaton bomb tests were days when these I forget what they were measuring, but these, so just for shits and grins, they're cosmic rays. When these cosmic rays are really high were the days on which the governments or militaries rather tested the higher megaton or higher yield bombs, which made a correlation in his mind that whatever was the cosmic rays increasing the yield.
Yes.
Or was the bomb causing that effect in the ray measurement?
And it's not just the United States bombing. It's like North Korea. It's like all these different.
You know what I'm thinking about now? It had something to do with earthquakes. So it had something to do with it had something to do with earthquakes and the seismic activity quotient for the days on which they tested.
Yeah.
But I listened to him talk and I couldn't tell if he was like, it's causing this to happen or this is being used, it's being harnessed to increase the output. I couldn't tell which way it was going.
Tell either, man. Yeah, I have to rewatch that, but yeah, you might like that, Aaron.
So was it Paul Laviette? My Internet Explorer crashed just when you guys were trying to get me that info. Who was it?
Paul Laviolette, I think his name.
Laviolette. I've heard of that.
Yes.
I'm looking for it right now. I will put it in chat.
You should get Firefox, man.
You should get Chrome.
You know what? Firefox doesn't work with. Are you using Firefox right now?
No, not right now.
I'm using Chrome right now. It's working pretty good.
Okay, because I'm hearing people say that Firefox doesn't work with Hangouts. I might have to reset my volume again.
Hangouts
You're echoing
sucks.
too.
Hangouts does suck. We should use Zoom.
I can't broadcast video on Zoom.
Aw.
You'd have to get an account, right?
Hang out.
Sorry, plug your ears.
How many times did it crash today, Nish? Like 3 times?
Yeah, so many. We need a new
When
Mecca.
her and I were talking.
One more.
I don't think that's the guy, the Paul Laviolette guy. He's talking about super
You just
waves.
said, I guess it was the galactic
not.
waves.
Hunter. It's Hunter. It's something Hunter. Hold on.
I'm looking.
So when you said incoming waves, that's what I thought, Jerry.
Yeah, no, that's, I understand
Keith
why.
Hunter. It's Keith Hunter.
Keith Hunter?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've heard of him too.
Yeah, I watched that also.
Keith
I
Hunter,
got what you were
North
saying
Korean
confused.
nuclear test. There you go. Found
North
it.
Korea.
Putting the link right now in our chat room.
What do you guys think of the possibility of the Black Knight satellite?
0.
Zero? Really?
Yep.
Oh, it's possible.
Total disinformation.
It's
I think it's possible.
There is, like, I don't think outer space is what they tell us it is, but I think there's a near Earth orbit kind of thing. So there could be something up there, like the moon.
So
Yep.
somebody,
Maybe in a different dimension that pops in every once in a while.
Makes you wonder. The
I got
whole
a
thing
good
with the
question
Black
for you.
Knight satellite is that it's not. It's artificial, supposedly.
Well, yeah.
Didn't Tesla pick it up? Like pick up signals from it? Or allegedly?
Yeah, I've heard something
Channeled
like
it.
that. Yeah, he could have.
I don't know. I mean, if that, okay, here's a good idea. That if that's real, it could be the source of the AI that's doing all the fuckery with Galactic Federation of Light, that kind of stuff.
Or it could maybe be another energy point. Who knows?
An energy point like what?
Like energy points on the planet or the plane, however you want to think about it.
The realm. But it's in the air.
So why wouldn't they be up in the sky as well?
Because there's only other stuff up in the sky, like stars and.
There's magnetic waves and.
Maybe
Why not energy points?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, it
Right?
probably is, Nemad. You're probably right. Yeah.
Right. We have to assume it's 3-dimensional, right? It's a grid. It's a 3-dimensional grid. It just can't be 2D.
The grid's got to be up there too.
Because if they weren't, then they wouldn't be underground. Right.
There would also be. I mean, there's a obvious human infatuation with space. Either way.
Because they sell it on TV.
Well, it's
I think
natural, though, isn't it?
It is natural. Before that,
Yeah,
Well,
Maybe
stars,
it's gotten
yeah, we're always
hijacked. Maybe it's
drawn.
gotten hijacked
Well,
Oh.
I
Totally
think
gotten hijacked.
because it is legitimate.
I really starting
Like
to
it's
think
something
that
you see.
what if space was a blank slate, and through the media, through the way it's been projected to us, our future, we're programming it, or we're co-creating it now. You know, it's actually expanding.
I would say that's possible.
What?
So,
I
like
would
all
agree
the
with you. We've
ancient
talked about this before. I
civilizations
agree with you.
that have been tracking everything and looked at the stars, like that could all just be disinformation.
No, but if this is
What
No.
if it's
truly
been tracking us?
true, but
Yeah, man.
okay, I guess.
Well, Jerry, you're certainly co-creating at least a small amount of space. I mean, are you suggesting that we are co-creating the entirety of space
Yeah,
through
because
consciousness?
we
I imagine.
weren't sure what space was until Einstein defined it, and now that most people have a grasp of what space-time is, that
And they still can't.
I'm just saying, I do, and I can think about all the overlays the media has put on of all the planets and what planets look like from space and what space travel looks like. I can imagine space. I can imagine being in a spaceship, right? And if enough people can do that, perhaps it would make space be like that and put it in our future
Why
somewhere.
science fiction always predicts the future, or they claims to predict the
Look
future.
at how many freaking
Science fiction
Star
novels.
Wars and
Well, there are
Star
cult
Trek and-
orders that
Well,
call
hang
that
on.
dream sharing.
Science. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As if we're creating our own reality, which I believe is true.
I do too. I do too. So
Mhm.
space is part of our reality. So why aren't, it's very possible that we are creating space. Expanding space, not create. It's created
And there was
already.
a time where they said that the moon wasn't there.
Right. It
Well,
could-
the observer always collapses the quantum wave function in the
Correct.
Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics. So the more people you have looking at something, the more the quantum wave function is going to collapse, and it's actually going to become the thing that you look at.
Yep.
Because it's more
Turn your
efficient to
mic up,
stay lit
Brandon.
up. Or get closer to your headset.
Yeah, put that.
What were
thing
you
in
going to
your
ask, Aaron?
I got a little sidetracked. There was a question I wanted to ask earlier in relation. Somebody had mentioned the Ark of the Covenant, and I have a little bit of a interesting. That's. I mean, I'm going to have to sidetrack the current conversation to ask it, but the Ark of the Covenant. Look, we know that the pyramids are machines. That's almost not even in question at this point. We know that the sides of the Great Pyramid are parabolic. There are 8 sides actually, and they're concave. So that makes the machine a more efficient sender and receiver of some sort of energy wave. We know that there are things missing from this machine, that there are elements that have been removed, that we know that there are pieces missing from the internal workings. A lot of people have said that it is an energy creating device. Right? We know what Chris Dunn says, that there's buildup and residue of sodium hydroxide. So we know that they were using some sort of chemical reaction going on. There are theories that it was a nuclear generating device. It was a lot. I mean, places on the earth, there are pyramids that have exploded. So my theory is, and you guys can tell me what you think, the Ark of the Covenant, which we also know as to be some sort of energy device, said to induce symptoms of radiation sickness. It was carried on long poles. You weren't supposed to get close to it. So what if the Ark of the Covenant is the main key element missing from the pyramid, which makes it work?
I love it.
Battery.
I said the
Dude,
same
that's
thing
awesome.
on my podcast. I said the
I would
same
totally
Really?
agree.
You said the same thing?
A
Amazingly.
couple weeks ago, man. My friend John.
Well, I swear I wasn't listening.
No, I know. It's funny. Yeah. On the Hive, you mean? Yeah. If he could get on,
When I hear these strong theories piecing
What's up,
things
Sean?
together. Hey, what's going on? So when I hear these strong theories piecing things together, I stop and I ask myself, what was the purpose in the first place to separate them?
It was a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, I mean, if it was truly a weapon of mass destruction, you'd imagine there'd be a hell of a lot more carnage, a lot more issue.
Also,
If
the way
you
things
look
are
back
right
in
now,
history,
the way things.
real quick, if you look
Go
back
ahead.
in history, this was reversed, not from a polarity standpoint, but from a maps standpoint. Due south used to be north to the Egyptian mythology and direction or geography. And it just, when I look at these things and I have these questions, what was the purpose? Not so much the purpose of it, but the purpose for disabling it, and why suddenly did everyone who knew anything about it disappear? And what are all these interesting stories and fringe stories of, like, for example, India? There's a story of an island that
The
was
Bhagavad Gita.
India. Thank you. Yes. And why did they suddenly disappear? Now, is it possible that they found it more advantageous to go underground and allow people to propagate on their own course and path because they found that the knowledge was disruptive and destructive in the wrong? Now is the result of that. What's the purpose and goal of globalization? What was the original purpose and goal of us separating into different nation states and countries and governments? What was the purpose of us having different religions with a lot of striking similarities that overlap each other, from our creation myths to their ethos? Those are the things that I'm after, is why is there so much overlap? Why did these things happen that brought us to where we are today?
I look at it a lot like recipes and food. I always correlate things now to food and recipes. And you see a lot of cross-pollination, not just myth and math and all that stuff and all these stories we're talking about, but also in just food. You know what I mean? So I think it just happens kind of naturally on one hand, but it's also promoted on the other.
You know,
absolutely.
sometimes,
And Sean, those are some absolutely fantastic thoughts. It makes so much sense, and it makes you wonder if it's, is it a big coincidence?
I
There are
have
no coincidences.
I have a theory.
Exactly.
I have a-
There are no such thing as coincidences.
I have a theory about enlightenment, and I have a theory about being a leader or a guide to an ideal. And I stop every now and then in my most humblest of egotistical moments, thinking, what if I really do have the right approach, not the right answer, but the right approach to life and conflict and these very strong ideas in one direction or another? I find myself being very neutral and only finding the value in something versus the there's a word for this, I'm trying to find it. I'm not a zealot. I'm not a bandwagoner. I'm not a follow you because you sound strong. I'm a what's your message kind of guy, and let me talk to management and figure out what this is all about, root cause kind of person. And I stop and I go, okay, the only way to really truly think about the world is to put yourself in the position of, say, a spiritual leader. And your intentions are positive, to teach people how to analyze the world, to question the world, to grow, to give the right message, to be good to their brothers and their sisters, and to live in harmony. But in that process of speaking to a large group of people, the individual who doesn't fully understand, that's driving their own agenda and wants the recognition for understanding without actually crossing over and transitioning into a place of understanding and enlightenment. So how do you speak to that person's questions and to the entire groups? Well, then, if they come to you with a question, or they come to you with a statement of what they feel is what they've learned from you so far, and you shoot it down because they're not fully actualized in your message, you have to squash that idea that's not fully developed to make sure that the group stays on track. But then that person gets their ego hurt, so then they take their loyal friends and followers and move on and start something else that's very similar, developed, or not fully in line with what you were trying to teach in the first place.
Well, that's a great.
And then, so go ahead.
No, that's a great observation, but that's pretty much the difference between the people who learn and the people who don't learn, right? I mean, the guy who takes his friends and leaves because his ego was hurt, because the guru had to crush him,
And that's
he had
the
to
power
point,
of
and he had to
ego.
point out, no, you're wrong. You thought you had it, but I'm sorry, that's not correct. So the person who was truly on the path of enlightenment and truly in the interest of advancing his own internal enlightenment would not suffer the ego crush.
Right. But we're not talking about the person that has enlightenment. We're talking about the people that
you're
take
just
it
basically
on.
pointed out the difference between the two types of people: those who
Yes.
will suffer the ego blow and act on it, and those who would take the lesson as well as the additional lesson of, oh, let's not get our ego trampled on right now. This isn't about that, because there's an
Right.
additional lesson on top of being corrected.
And all of it is a lesson.
That's
the
right.
alchemy of evolution and enlightenment, everything is a lesson. It's just whether or not you can tune yourself to see it.
So
But
I suppose a good teacher or a good guru would either use his rebuttal with such tact as to not damage or intentionally damage, or at least outwardly show he's not trying to damage. You know, you could say, look, you may not like this, and I hope this doesn't upset you, but there are ways of phrasing a correction without the way you put it, crush the ego. Because I mean, it's a good observation. People do get their feelings hurt when they get corrected. They like to be right. No one wants to be wrong. And when you're wrong in front of a group, it's embarrassing. It's an ego blow for sure.
What I found in having many opportunities to sample different personality types under extreme stress, and then coming home from that and experiencing people that are not used to that environment, is that the reaction or that situation, no matter how loud the volume or how quiet the volume, will still exist. If you're in a world of soft-spoken people, even the quietest rebuttal or rebuke will harm.
Well, what's
and
the
isn't
last
that
word?
why maybe the whole point is not really to experience ego crushes, instead to self-dissolve the ego and be
I think
in
what
the
I'm
moment.
trying to drive is that it's going to exist because you have to have one for the other to exist. And so that might be the answer to some of the questions that I have, which is, how do we have all these overlapping religions and creation myths? Because there was one source.
There was one source. There was a world civilization that was all very well in contact with each other.
It's the whole divide and conquer thing.
I mean, it's no freaking coincidence.
Divide
there's a
the
pyramid
actual
on every
truth.
continent, and as you
Right.
said, an overlapping religion on every continent. There's
Yeah,
no
exactly. And there's
coincidence
so
to
many
that.
of them. And they all overlap. It's divide and conquer.
And there's supposed to be more arcs, if you will, quote unquote, arcs of the covenant, these energy sources that I do believe
It's
go
also
with the pyramids.
there's supposed to be more than one. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, there is.
I also think it's and are they all called arcs of something?
I don't know if they're all because that's a term from the Bible.
Because I just think
But-
it's really interesting that we call it. It's known as the Ark of the Covenant, which is another reference to energy.
Well, before it was called
That's
arc,
what electricity does when it jumps from one physical point to another. It arcs.
but arc is the translated term. You have to find out what the original Aramaic or Hebrew word was wherever it was written.
That's true. But from what it's described as in the Bible, it is definitely
Something.
it
could be a weapon. It could be a musical instrument.
no,
it could be a bunch of stuff.
It's an arc of got burned. People died allegedly.
Let me throw another one out there, since we're going down the biblical side. I just want to throw this in there as a plant a seed, and then we can continue on with the conversation about the ark. if anybody remembers the story of the Tower of Babel, where man built this tower trying to achieve godliness or reach God or the heavens, and then God came down and cast upon them, separated them by 7 different languages into 7 different tribes.
He's a dick
and
like
destroyed
that.
the tower. I have a theory, and we've talked on this before, Jerry. I think most of us that I know, we've all talked about this even last night. I feel like no manifestation of a physical creation or concept can exist without it having a true existence in the self. For example, the concept of a chair wouldn't exist unless it already was conceptualized. It doesn't just, chairs don't just grow. To take that out a little farther, the concept of wireless communications could be considered a way of synthesizing telepathy. Because technology, culture, money, ego has driven us to make physical representations of something that's truly internal. Like, loosely, you could equate this to the King Ozymandias poem. I think
Therefore I am.
Ozymandias, King of Kings, look on my works, ye mighty in despair. And it's just a destroyed, it's a burnt out visage in the desert, nothing left around it. Basically what that says is, no matter how great you get, no matter how, it's like Icarus, no matter how great you get, no matter how much you do here on this physical plane, eventually it goes to ruin. And that is a statement on man, on humanity, that unless we seek enlightenment like we are here, we continue to seek satisfaction in physical objects where we can't find it spiritually or metaphysically.
So true, dude.
But that all ties
Is the
back.
Physical.
Is the Tower of Babel the one with Lot and his wife that looks back?
No, that was
That's
Sodom and
Sodom and
Gomorrah.
No, that was Sodom and
Sorry,
Gomorrah.
I wasn't raised Christian, so this stuff is
I
also.
wasn't
I'm
either.
picking it up as I go along now.
There was a point in my life where I wanted to be a pastor, and now I'd rather find truth.
I'd rather stick
here's
sharp
an
pencils in my eyes.
interesting fun fact for you. The Tower of Babel, there's a replica of the Tower of Babel in the form of an office building, and is known as the Bank of International Settlements,
That's
located in, of all places, Basel, Switzerland.
Switzerland, yeah.
Wow.
It looks just like the one from Dante.
What's going on in Geneva, where CERN's at? That's some kind of vortex that it's on.
You guys know that the internet was created for CERN, right?
No, it was not.
It wasn't, yeah.
I thought Al Gore created the internet.
Now, we covered this in the first hour.
The tubes.
DARPA created the internet to communicate between the different departments, divisions, whatever, and then they extended
It was for CERN.
Stanford.
I thought it was Xerox and IBM.
CERN wasn't.
DARPA might have been the creators of it, but the purpose was because the massive amounts of data that was coming out of CERN, or that was planned to come out of CERN.
Not in the late 60s.
No, CERN wasn't even there.
Anybody
No,
know
it's
anything
Stanford
about the
Research Institute.
Montauk experiment?
Yes.
A little bit.
CERN isn't,
Yeah, I know
isn't
Peter
as
Moon,
old
man.
as the 60s, Jerry.
But that's when the internet was started. That's what I'm telling you. It was not made for CERN.
But CERN isn't the first collider either.
Okay. No, Brookhaven was. What was developed at CERN for CERN was the HTTP protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That was developed for CERN, at CERN, by Tim Berners-Lee in late 80s. And that uses the internet, but it's not the technology of the internet, which
Which
developed.
is the World Wide Web.
Right. It's the-
WWW.
That was a later evolution, but we didn't have the proper infrastructure to leverage it.
It's an application layer protocol, so it talks
was
on
for
top of an
universities.
existing connection. So once you have a connection between two computers, you can send commands back and forth. And that's all the web is basically your web browser opens a connection to a server and says get, and it gives an URL, or it says post where it pushes something back. It's all just, give me this file and I'll show it on my screen. Real simple. Anyway, I will look into that. I'd never heard that. All the research I've done on the internet has been points back to DARPA, and then it was doled out to select Silicon Valley companies to develop further, like 3Com did. They came up with Ethernet, and Xerox was another one.
I've been on the original Xerox campus after they vacated it up off of Foothill Expressway and Page Mill Road.
Do you remember DEC?
No.
Digital Equipment Corp. They were like the first mainframe company to go out of business after the micros came out.
They must have plummeted before Sun Systems did.
Yes, like almost 10 years, 20 years before. But even Sun.
And then, let's see.
SGI still.
Well, I mean, I live really close to Brocade on top of that, and they used to be the original pioneers of the ATMs.
Brocade got bought by Cisco, right?
I want to say that is a true statement. They're still under the same pseudonym, but they are a subsidiary of Cisco, I believe.
Yeah, I used to have a Brocade switch. God, that was years ago. Good times.
Yeah, I believe it probably cost an arm and a leg, too.
It did. It cost almost as much as our IBM or our Hitachi Thunder fiber optic SAN. That was
and it probably took about 6 to 7 months to actually get the licensing and configuration from them, too. But that's another nerd story for people that live in the Silicon Valley.
We bought it through a VAR, so we just ordered it once the contract was assigned, and it just shipped, and I installed it. The thing was like, I think 4 terabytes, maybe 2. It was not a lot of space, and it was $500,000.
What about Marvell?
Never. That's all. Don't they do mostly laptop components or like subcomponents?
Yeah, they do subcomponents, and they got into the Bluetooth market very heavily.
Yeah, Bluetooth's interesting.
Oh, that's a word for it. It's very highly compressed. I don't appreciate that Bluetooth is what's pioneering music connectivity because of its compression rate so fucking bad.
Yes, it's horrible for audio.
I can connect over Bluetooth and go, okay, my music sounds weird, then connect by analog or manual digital connection. Physical connection sounds way better. Anyways, moving on. It was it's a good protocol for
file transfer,
communications devices, and file transfer, but it's terrible for any kind of like high fidelity.
Well, you know, once the Internet of Things are here and 5G is everywhere and we're all mind controlled, it'll be fine.
And see, that's what it makes me wonder, all this technology stuff, you know, and how you were talking about CERN. What if it's us in this physical reality trying to assimilate spiritual truth?
Through technology?
Through technology.
Right.
And we're trying, instead of just realizing the fact that the truth is right here already.
Thank you, Nomad. I was going to say something along those lines. With the birth of Facebook and it really catching some momentum with the populace and Twitter and Google even, and being able to farm metadata, and then through social experiments that were unauthorized or unsanctioned by any public domain, they've managed to start to zero in on what influences people on a broad spectrum, and then now they're slowly but surely systematically zeroing in and making that focus and that bullet hit a closer target.
Absolutely.
One could take the
leap happening for a long time
and say that even our sitting here waxing eloquent over esoteric concepts is directly influenced by that engine, by that group or experiment. If I were to be, if I were all powerful and needed to influence a populace, I would want to control every aspect of their thoughts, even the ones that are contradictory to my motives.
Like the Vatican.
Like the Vatican, who's the oldest proponent of that mentality.
Maybe.
Jesus Christ. I need to fucking figure out how to turn off these notifications.
I know.
Go into options.
Is it you or me?
If you're using the Hangouts, if you've got a list of Hangouts in front of you, next to the actual chat window. If you can get to
I've got the browser.
The browser version, if the little
Based
pop-out thing has a notification, like a bell in the upper, across the top in that little bar, there's a bell you can click on or off. Maybe not.
Jesus Christ, let me kill this right here.
He can't
Let's try
help
that.
you.
That reminds me, Jerry, the other day I watched MK Vatican again.
Yeah.
It never gets old, man.
I know, I like it. I wanted to upgrade it because there's a sign in the church by my house that says, I can't remember what it says now, but it's really funny. It's like you might not know it, but God is like watching you every moment, like taking care of you. It's that connotation that he's got everything set for you, so you don't have to worry. Just take your hands off the wheel. I'll get a picture of it tomorrow, but it's funny.
Dude, you should play MK
Exact
Vatican
opposite of what the
in
Bible
the background.
Play it in the background?
Can you without audio? Just for visual reference?
Sure. Why, yes.
Dude, why not? Episode 15. It's a little
Yes,
bit of a
episode
milestone.
15, that's very... All right. Smooth motion beta.
Oh. What the heck is this?
Huh?
What is this?
Get your ass to church.
It's MK Vatican.
You never saw this?
God.
You never saw this, Brandon?
I'll be back in a minute, gentlemen. Ladies.
Anyway, what were we talking about, Nomad?
Sounds like Leonard Cohen.
Sounds like
We're
what?
talking about us through technology trying to assimilate a spiritual truth. It's essentially right in front of us.
So, I've said this a few times. I've proposed that the internet is an expression of our collective consciousness.
Sorry.
Made in 3D reality. It replaces maybe a telepathy we used to have, or some connection we used to have, or one that we do have that we forgot about, or one that we will get access to by building this ladder, which is the internet. It could be a lot of different things. But when you said that, the only thing I thought of was that one of the pervasive stories from the secret space program whistleblower types is that these people have built technology which accesses that spiritual level. And if it's all
maybe that's what it's all about.
Well, the thing is that,
and that's one of the big ruses that's happening.
One of the other facets of this using technology to access that level, that organic level, is that the experience isn't natural, so it doesn't always go right, and it's bad. Put it that way. It's not as good as... It's like using a digital version of something that's analog. It's a copy, so it's not going to be as good. When an organic technology accesses this organic spiritual technology, it's cool, but if digital technology accesses it, there are translation errors, I guess is a good way to put it.
Interesting.
So,
Nikola Tesla has written in his journal that when he came in contact with, I think he called it an oscillating magnetic field or a pulsating magnetic field or something. When he came in contact with this type of magnetic field, he said, able to see past, present, and future at the same time. Some have said that...
Really? Because I just heard a story about a machine that does that.
Well, here's another fun fact that might blow your mind.
It's 33 minutes after. We're getting the drops now. All right, go ahead.
33 minutes after?
Usually when it's 33 minutes after the hour, the Hangouts drops.
Well, most of you guys know that when Tesla died in 1943, the FBI seized his property, his papers, his experiments, his equipment.
And Donald Trump's uncle got to evaluate it all.
Yep.
Yes.
He's a time
yes,
traveler.
thank you.
What?
Yes, John Trump was a physicist working on high voltage.
I thought Soros had something to do with it. I'm just kidding.
Sure he does now.
Fucker.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I wasn't going to go as far as suggest that Donald Trump is a time traveler like some people do.
Oh no, we're kidding.
Oh my
We don't
God,
think
I
that.
got a place.
I mean, who knows? But I don't.
Can
think
I?
that.
Hey, Aaron, you know
No.
this. Can I play other people's videos? Is that cool or not cool?
If you're asking me if it's cool to play someone else's video, I do it all the time.
I know, but you do it with your cell phone to get around that whole rebroadcasting shit.
No, I do screen share and I just go to another tab.
Speaking of
It's usually
Really
fun,
graceful
Jerry.
Pizzagate? Is that what that just said?
This was really interesting.
I've seen it.
A real thing.
What's that?
In you
But
have
she
access
found
to
this
time
book.
machine.
I'll find it.
Oh yeah, Ingersoll. I got it. We talked about it tonight on the show.
Oh, cool.
The marvelous
Yeah.
trip of Baron Trump.
Ingersoll
yes.
Lockwood or something.
What is it?
Lockwood. That book, Baron Trump's Amazing Adventures.
Yeah, that's an old book. And it looks like
Yeah, it's
Baron
like,
Trump.
what was that, 19th
Yeah,
century?
it's pretty amazing connections, man. And it talks about his dad was Don and
Well,
he lived in
really?
Castle Trump.
Yeah, here it is.
Curiosity over Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey. The portrait of Baron in the book series bears some resemblance. If I squint, I can see it. In the present day, the first family's dog is called Patton, named after General George Patton. General Patton is most famous for winning the Battle of the Bulge. The dog in Lockwood's novels is named Bulger. And yes, I know, we might need a little stretch after that reach, but while we're at it, there's mention of an entrance to Inner Earth that lies in the Ural Mountains, mentioned of course in Lockwood's books, which is exciting a lot of folks who subscribe to the Hollow Earth theory, while making others wonder if this is the real Russian connection the news continues to ramble on about. But I want to know about this world within a world reference within Lockwood's book.
Anyway, I'll drop the link in the chat. It's interesting.
Thanks, dude.
There were some other
Yeah.
correlations that are really cool, and she did a good job on the video. I like this woman.
World within a world. Yeah, she's a
looks
great
awesome.
researcher. I followed her for a while.
I've got a little history on General Patton because I was actually in the 3rd Infantry Division when I was in the military, and he did not win anything, but he was very instrumental in the winning of, because Hitler knew wherever Patton is where he's going to focus. So they had him hold the Marne River in, I believe, France. And so all of the forces focused on taking out Patton, whereas the Allied and the Allies, who was involved with us, the Russians, I want to say, and some other coalition force attacked from the rear. And that's how we ended up winning. They gave him the win, but it was a group effort.
So he was just the great distraction.
It was the great distraction. He was not very happy about it either, but it worked.
I've read that too.
Maybe that's what it's all about. It's all about the distraction.
Yeah, it is.
Also, we should give props to Really Graceful for that video clip.
Absolutely. I thought I already did.
I know that, Jerry.
Nice. She has some good research.
She does excellent stuff. She does really good stuff.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
You know, she called shenanigans on the Pizzagate stuff at the right time. And she did some really good coverage of the bridge collapse in Atlanta, which was not a hoax, but had
I forgot
shenanigans
about that.
surrounding it. Aaron, we never did find out what happened to that lawyer or the papers that got
Oh yeah, the
filed.
one that was supposedly shot
Yep.
or allegedly shot.
She was shot. It's on camera. They have all that stuff.
I'm not saying she wasn't.
We can't hear you,
So
Aaron.
what is all that?
What is all what?
What is all of that? All this stuff that is happening on the physical,
It's a
like plane,
distraction.
I guess you could say.
It's distraction, dear. You just said it.
No, it's more than
Yep.
part of
It's a
it's
distraction.
Yeah, it is.
part of
It
it's
is.
distraction and part of it is something else though. You know, it's
Yeah, I agree.
it's if you want to look at it this way, it's expression of what's going on inside of us, externalized.
Dude, the world would be in chaos.
It is.
What was going on inside of me was expressed on the outside sometimes.
And it is in
Jerry's
chaos.
It would be
right.
like
It is in
earthquakes and
chaos.
volcanoes and everything going on at the same time.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not cooking any beans.
I mean, that is a popular viewpoint with a lot of people.
No, I know it is. Yeah.
If you flicked your
There
bean more,
definitely
you'd
is
know.
some kind of connection.
I'm not cooking any beans.
Okay.
Fuck you, Sean.
That was Grim, not Sean.
I know, but Sean's the one that made me say it.
He made you,
Say-
forced you.
Wait, what did he make you say?
he kept grilling down on me.
What did he make you say?
I'm not cooking any beans.
I was trying to get her to say it again to be cleaner. Damn it.
I'm not gonna say it again.
Who just beeped?
That was funny.
Nice cloud, Grim.
Oh, thanks.
Oh,
There's
you
been a
are-
lot of that going on.
I'm about to rebuild my coil. I'll give you some clouds. And the measles are itchy in Napoli. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the plight of Heather and Tucci Giraffe.
Yeah, I need to hear more about that. I only know a few little details.
Grim, you are just wrong.
Wait, what is that? What is that? I don't know what that says. I probably find it really funny.
I'll play it for a second.
Not that Oingo Boingo. Bob Dylan?
Sounds like Bob.
It's the first take. That sounds weird.
It does sound strange.
What the hell was it?
It's Bob Dylan
It's Bob
basement
Dylan.
tapes.
Yeah. It just sounds strange going through his speakers like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably does.
Plus, it's basement tapes, so they suck.
No, they're good quality. They're decent quality. Yeah,
Dude, those tapes are good.
yeah, hell yeah.
So this woman who's an attorney and okay, I'll bring it all back to this. Goes back to the idea that everyone has a straw man or trust account in their name, and that's what your all caps name is, and it's represented by an account, which is your social security number, and it's tied to your birth certificate somehow. I'm not sure how it all works. I haven't dug that deeply into it. This lawyer named Heather and Tucci Giraffe has worked it all out over, like, I think she said 13 or 14 years. And what it comes down to is she found a way in which you can become the owner of that straw man, like take ownership of it. You know what I mean? So it's created for you. I'll get to that in a second. It's created for you by the Federal Reserve, I believe. And they hold it in a trust. But you are the sole owner of it, although they're holding it for you. It's kind of
Until you die. And
until
then
you die, and then they receive it as an inheritance, I guess, or whatever.
So it's
Correct.
essentially like a corporate identity or something like that?
It represents you in the commercial commerce system, the Uniform Commercial Commerce System, the UCC.
The UCC.
And this is the whole.
It's a TPP account.
This is the whole, and there's lots of TPS reports that need to be made.
TPS reports.
But basically, the gist of it is that in order to take control of your TDA, which is called Treasury Direct Account, I believe, TDA, you have to prove ownership, and part of that is to file a bunch of UCC filing documents and statements, and that things have to be notarized. You know, it's like you have to prove.
It's a complicated system.
You have to prove who you are without using your identity, as you think of it today.
So you have to prove that you are a human, essentially.
Yes. And you
just have to check that I am not a robot box.
And you're
good to go.
Exactly. Which one of these are store
fill in
signs?
the numbers.
Click the right boxes. The other aspect of it is you have to provide a funding statement. This is the part I don't know, so I don't want to say anything more than that. But one of the statements you have to file is a funding statement, which brought these people to start looking into the funding statements of, say, the government and the Federal Reserve and the IRS, and they're very interesting. One I saw today, I think I shared that with you, Suzanne, was the IRS's funding statement, which said that it was funding it with every man who has arms and legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like right there it says that you are collateral. Collateral. It's almost like cattle. Oh,
It's all
cattle.
bullshit. It gets like this anger.
It's
in my belly.
Yeah, maybe this is all just a distraction.
No, it's real. No,
it's real.
It's
The
real.
welling of
It's real, but it's also a distraction from what is true.
Graham is trying to get Nomad to move on to that. Graham, you are so wrong. How many times can I say it?
I've done it a few times too. This is the way I want to look at it. That in this realm there are many quests. A lot of them are distractions. This one has treasure at the end.
Yes.
This one has a big...
There's never gold at the end of the rainbow, Jerry.
Well, that's why everyone's kind of holding their breath, watching how this plays out.
Right, which I was going to explain next what happened. This guy who's been working with this woman, his name is Randall Kenneth Bean, I think.
That's a fake name.
Has been working with Heather and has taken out, I think it was $1.5 million from his account.
I thought they took out $3 million each.
Maybe 3. I don't know the numbers. I just know what's in the complaint. He's taken out $1.5 million. He put it into CDs. He took out $500,000 or so and bought an RV with it. And the day after he bought the RV, he was arrested for, still unclear what he was arrested for.
It was that day.
It wasn't that day. And they confiscated the RV, and now the RV is missing, by the way. No one has...
Yeah, they say they don't know anything about an RV.
We don't know about an RV.
He's arrested for a crack in the plaster.
They did not identify themselves. They would not allow anyone to videotape them. It was very, very shady. So the lawyer went to Washington, D.C. to meet with some people about this issue, and she was arrested because the state of Tennessee had issued an arrest warrant for her as an accomplice to the money laundering scheme, which they're claiming Randall Bean was performing by taking money out of these accounts, transferring it through PayPal to his bank, into a CD, and then out to tangible goods.
Holy crap.
Okay.
Holy crap.
So, but all of that is predicated on the fact that they say he does not have ownership of the account, the source of that money. Okay. So they're saying he didn't own that account. He tried a bunch of different account numbers. He got one to work and then transferred $1.5 million out of it, which all, by the way, still have not been reversed, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's been reversed.
So that means if the Fed cleared them, because it's a zero-sum daily thing, right? Daily clearing. So they've been cleared. They're accepted their actual transactions. But they say that because he didn't own the source account, that it's considered stolen money. And then by converting it into CDs and then into physical tangible goods, that's money laundering. So they've got him on like 5 or 6 counts of that. And then Heather is the accomplice for abetting in the situation.
The UCC filings and stuff. I did hear that.
So
anyway,
part of it.
What's kind of scary on that note it's kind of a side note, but it's fast. Is they're trying to start? They're using the terminology of embezzlement and laundering around certain cryptos here in America. Also, back to you, Jerry.
Laundering for sure, and that's part of the new House bill. I forgot the number. It's a Senate bill, I believe, that has added cryptocurrency to money laundering, to all the money laundering laws that we have, like the RICO laws and things, have now been amended to include cryptocurrency.
You mean the laws that all the people that actually do money laundering are exempt from?
At this time, yeah.
Yeah.
So she went to D.C. She got arrested last Friday, and refused to identify herself as her straw man, because that's part of the whole trick of court. You know, because you're not on trial, your straw man's on trial because you don't really exist in their eyes. You know, technically. So that's the whole deal with the straw man, because they can boss that one
Man,
around.
I feel like I'm 5 years ago talking to Kate of Gaia. I'm on the Kate of Gaia Blog Talk Radio Network every day. She's breaking down every single little tiny bit of this. I've been through this so much.
The important part.
So many times.
Okay, so what I think that's important in this, if the stuff's true, is that Heather was using the identity hearing as a wedge to introduce her person as separate from the straw man in a court of law to set precedent. Yeah. Okay. What ended up happening is the court wouldn't allow the evidence to be admitted because they didn't understand what she was doing.
Right.
They don't know this stuff.
No.
You know, it's not like a secret handshake you learn when you pass the bar.
No, it's a bunch of wacko renegade lawyers. Not even lawyers.
Yeah, like 100 years ago.
People think they're lawyers. Yeah, it's based on stuff like not more than 100 years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's like I heard it's 6,000 years old.
Fuck, man. And yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, so she was not able to make that precedent, and they, I guess, extradited her anyway. And they denied a lot of her claims. She wanted to represent herself, and they would not let her, which I found interesting. And they would not change public defenders on her, nor would they expedite her extradition for her. And that one, the judge actually blamed on her for delaying this hearing that was today.
Yeah.
So that she could get her documentation.
Right.
She wasn't allowed to get.
She asked for 2 extra days.
For wasting the court's time, too.
Right, but she just wanted to provide the doc, but they didn't even accept the doc anyway.
Of course.
And then she's like, well, screw you. You're going to have to wait in jail.
She must have known that something would happen. Like, they wouldn't accept the motion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I would have.
So they're going to go to Tennessee.
Had to have known. You're going up against a strong system.
Exactly.
And anyone that does stuff like this, I mean, it's impressive because
she's been an attorney for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. And like Jerry was saying, she was researching it for 14 years before she actually took
I think it was
action.
like 17.
I thought it was 30 actually, but I don't know. So
Either way, you kind of need that knowledge, and it just goes to show how fucking complicated and deep it runs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
then when it comes down to the practice, how uncomplicated it is, and how they can just freaking treat you like however they want.
Right, but here's the thing. Because it's complicated, because it involves only forms and getting shit in line, you can totally automate that. And the problem after that is
but it doesn't matter.
It does matter. The problem is if you get busted.
It does in some way, yeah.
Like if you get busted, you got to prove that you're you. And if she can set a precedent on how to do that.
And a lot of people did it.
It's going to bust everything wide open.
Yes, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
Because they are then acknowledging that exists.
And that's the whole
and
thing.
This is getting a lot of attention, thankfully.
Yeah, is it?
Most of us can agree that the people actually have the power.
It's good.
But that power has been stolen away a long time ago.
Yeah, but our power was turned into money.
It's still here.
And our money has been stolen.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. Well, okay.
And maybe this is an act of taking power back.
They don't see the path. And so this that's happening right now is part of trailblazing. You know, it's opening a door.
It is.
And it's allowing people that didn't know this even existed to see it.
And I'll give you
Yeah, I
this,
think that's
Nomad.
good.
This is a distraction, but it's for them.
It runs deep, my friend.
No, it's a distraction. We are doing this to cause a distraction
For them.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like a ninja.
Strategic. Strategery. Mary, you can ask questions there. I'm kind of halfway reading the chat. I won't write questions here because they need to be worded right because the short space right. All right, yeah, don't ask questions. So that's all I wanted to recap was that I thought it was interesting, and if she can actually get a court trial in Tennessee, Knoxville, to make her case and prove that she's not her straw man, that's pretty powerful.
And the environment's never been more prime. I mean, so many people are upset with it. Everyone seems to be upset with the control grid. One reason or another reason. There's just a lot of disillusionment going on. So this could be a floodgate.
Yes, and
Hopefully.
she may or may not have spoken with.
Yeah, I heard that too. I was like, what?
I didn't hear that.
I heard that today. That because she was apparently arrested by the Secret Service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you she was in the White House.
I know, and I said, no way, she wasn't in the White House. So maybe she was. Or maybe they were trying to clear her and they found out she had a warrant on her.
Well, this would take down the whole money system. They would have no more power if everyone started to...
Only if everyone at once did it.
But if that wouldn't have to be a very big...
Yeah.
It only takes like between 5 and 15%.
Yeah, and more people that see it being done, this kind of thing that's actually about breaking shackles, this could be gigantic, which would completely put the system at risk and freak them out.
It would collapse the system because once everyone has enough money to do whatever they want, it's useless.
Right. Well, and then this is that whole like standing in your sovereignty kind of thing when people just finally say, F you. Again, to even thought when it gets to that higher level of how can you even control me like this? Beyond all the idiots,
right. The
people that are functioning at a higher level.
Right, and it's like I've talked about before, or maybe not to this group, but marriage laws, right? You're not allowed to marry a man. We never gave them the authority to tell us who we could marry.
Exactly.
Right.
We never gave the government the authority to impose these restrictions on us in these areas, and they continue to make more and more. And it's like they're legislating morality, more or less.
But this is part of what's the big great disillusion with the system is that they're it's like a Chinese finger lock. They keep applying more restrictions and bleeding through taxation and all this stuff that it's hard to turn around now, and people are getting rebellious.
And there's been so many generations born into it that it's just rote. And Aaron, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
Yes, sorry, Aaron.
Oh, that's fine. There's going to be a breaking point. It only takes 15%, maybe. I mean, historically, 5% of people have fought and won most wars, typically 5% per capita. So, I mean...
No, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think this is a physical battle in that regard. This is more of a...
I don't think he means
No,
it.
I mean, it miffs me because I know that we have the numbers. And then I'm at a loss to really know how best to move forward. We're so separated.
Yes.
And even those of us who know about the Hegelian dialect and the divide and rule system that's in place, we're still separated, and we're so easily separated.
Even if we're
weren't so heavily infiltrated,
even if we weren't separated, what would we do?
We'd have the Battle of Alamance.
Well, look, a non-compliance is what it's going to take.
I agree.
I am
across
so
the
with that.
freaking board.
Yes.
Across the board non-compliance.
Yeah.
Look, this whole machine operates based on commerce. This is how these people work, and that's how they drain us. We have to stop the machine.
Which
The
is
machine's
done
got to
through
stop.
no longer supporting it by not buying their products, not
At least long
Some.
enough for them to get the freaking message.
right. And well, a good
Because
example of this would
I'm not
be.
talking about anarchy, total crash. You know,
No.
But imagine if of that 5%, imagine if that 5% represented 25% of NFL fans. And they said, we're boycotting the NFL for football. 25%. That would turn heads.
Sure would.
Oh, forget it. Yeah.
What if every single person in this country decided, I am never again going to buy a fishing license?
Oh,
What if
that'd be
every
so
single
awesome.
person in this country decided from now on, how dare you charge me money for a marriage license, a driver's license,
I tell you,
Yep.
a license
make me
to
get
carry
a
a
driver's
weapon?
license.
All these licenses and fees are taxes. They're nothing more than
Yep.
taxes.
Without representation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, in other words, people would have to be willing to go to jail.
Yes.
Because ultimately, we know what government is. It's basically a threat of force.
Yep.
And
Monopoly of violence.
Let
It's
me
the,
add this.
you know,
And
the-
how
it's
have we?
mind
Yes,
control
Brandon.
through it's mind control, and if that doesn't work, if the carrot doesn't work, I've got a stick.
And how does?
Right.
How have we been programmed?
That's right.
Think back,
So
Aaron.
true.
How have we been programmed to think of jail? It's fucking Rape City, right?
Yep.
And
Oh,
how many
yeah,
times
I
did you have to watch Scared Straight in school?
Grim wants to go to jail.
I saw the first Scared Straight in like the
Yeah, but the
70s.
vast
That was
majority.
awesome.
I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
right.
go.
But we were forced to watch that in like 8th grade.
Mm.
That's traumatic.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah, it
designed to
is.
scare you. The fact is, I've been to jail, and it ain't that scary. Now, prison is something else. I've even been in
Mhm.
temporary holding, like an intermediate between, you know, the holding tank when you get
Mhm.
drunk, arrested, and they let you out the next day, and like a temporary, like you're
Yeah.
going to be in jail for 3 months or 2 months,
Mhm.
that kind of jail. So, I mean, that's a little more scary, but it still ain't prison. But the
Mhm.
point is, more people need to be willing to clog the freaking jail system.
It's true.
You need to be.
That's true.
I covered a story tonight on my show about a husband and wife who were jailed or fined for feeding stray and feral
I
cats.
saw that.
What?
Yeah,
it's
that's terrible.
ridiculous.
You can't
That
collect
makes no sense.
rainwater in some places.
Yeah.
True.
In a lot of places.
Yeah. I mean,
That's sad, man.
People need to be willing to go to jail for watering their lawns.
seriously, what is the reason for making collecting rainwater illegal? Honestly,
Well, the rationale is bullshit, but the rationale is
Mosquitoes.
that it's about the downstream being affected. There might be a
Oh.
worm or a
Watershed.
tiny little fish or something downstream that
Oh,
needs
God.
that water. But
That's
then the
true.
counter argument is equally viable because you're requiring you're putting less demand on the system.
Yeah.
Money. They're
Good
not going to
point.
get in. They're
That's
not
right.
to
That's
get
right.
all
It's
the
all
money
bullshit.
from you watering.
It's
you
about
know, having to use your water. You get some rainwater. Oh my God, I don't need as much water from the water company. I'm not going to pay as much money.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then we can't control you as much.
Exactly.
And there are people.
we
There are
can't put a
places.
smart
there
meter
are-
on your house to find out how much rain you've stolen.
There are countries, either counties or states where it's illegal to live off grid.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and there are lots of cities where you can't have you can't grow food in your yard.
You guys see that huge tent city in Anaheim? It's like right where the California Angels play. There's like there's a big bike path that goes through there and around the park.
It looks like fucking Somalia.
Why
Did
can't
you see
homeless
that?
people live in all
I
the
haven't
empty
seen
houses
that.
everywhere?
Oh,
It looks like a
Tent city.
wartime refugee camp in the middle of in the Middle East or
I used to
something.
live
miles.
like 20 miles from there.
Dude,
Southern
Suzanne,
Orange
miles long, Suzanne.
It
Wow. I
looks
gotta
like
look- I gotta look for that.
1920s.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It does like 1920 Central Park
Yeah.
tent cities and stuff.
Well,
New York City.
Portland
they
is
take
looking
all
like
those
that now
people-
too.
Oh, sorry, Mish.
Yeah, Portland is. I can't
Really?
believe how it's literally everywhere. There are tents and camps, and now
Detroit has
this.
been that way for a long time too.
Yeah, Detroit was kind of a
Oh,
trailblazer in
yeah.
that
There you go.
avenue.
Detroit, man. I remember going out on a Sunday. I went there in 2004 summer, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going into Detroit. I'm going to stay in a big hotel. I'm going to wake up on Sunday like it is in Boston. Go walk around, find something to eat, have some fun, explore the city. I wake up, you know, the GM building's right in front of me, and like Tiger Stadium's down the street. There's a game going on, dude. I swear to God, you would have seen what are those little hay things that roll by in a western? That just a deserted place. It was just like
A tumbleweed.
A tumbleweed would have went by me. It was so deserted. It was just a concrete deserted wasteland out of the apocalypse or something. I'm going, whoa, what the heck?
It still
Took me,
wasn't
like,
that bad in 04.
So these people aren't
Right.
just waiting for tickets, right?
Poor Detroit.
By the way, I get to the Tiger Stadium, right? And there's one restaurant right across from the stadium, and that's where everybody is. So I go in there, I grab a little something to eat. It's not even that busy, and then just not even a block away from the stadium, it's already just miles and miles of homeless people and just like bombed out
Wait.
buildings.
This guy's in a tent with a big flat screen TV watching football.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they can.
I mean, is that a real picture? Is that Photoshop? What the
That's
hell?
probably true.
Maybe it's
This
like
guy's
Yeah, I mean, if they've
it's the
lost
group
all their
tent.
like
They do it in
house
Burning
and they
Man,
still
man.
Oh,
kept their
okay.
stuff, you know.
Some people they have electricity in that tent city. Some of them have electricity.
That looks like Portland right there. Yeah.
And not only that, but
Those
this
are
is
good
happening
photos.
all over the world.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And why is that?
Mhm.
The city
Because
here
people
in
have to come
Portland
together.
is putting big boulders. They keep under,
There it
you
is.
know,
Is
they.
that it? San Diego Trail? Is that the one in Anaheim? That looks just like it right there. That does look just like it. Yep. It's just guys, miles and miles.
That's
and
Mecca,
miles
actually.
back.
So why is
All right. Well,
what's
just put in
happening?
Anaheim. Tent
Like
City,
what?
Anaheim.
That looks
I
like
think people are
this
just
looks like the tent city from District 9.
It does
It
totally.
does. It totally does.
Whoa.
Go away, prawn.
What's
Predictive
happening is
programming.
people don't have
Maybe.
anywhere to live, and they say, hey, we're gonna get together. We're getting kicked out of the trailer park, whatever. And I heard about this place where there's a lot of other people, and then we can hang out there, and we'll be able. And then, once we get back on our feet, we'll be able to move out somewhere. Or
Also,
maybe get an
Not
RV
gonna
or
happen.
something. You know what I mean?
supposedly,
It's hard times.
aren't they
It's fucking hard
fleeing?
times. But I think most of them could have been you or me. You know what I mean? Just like people that just got dealt a bad hand in life, man.
I think
going
there's
for
A
life.
family member
Yeah,
with
that's
a
true.
disease could wipe you out, Have a kid who's got
there's a
cancer.
bunch of different
You're
reasons.
done.
There's a bunch of different reasons.
I mean,
yeah.
a lot of people are choosing this is their way of
Yeah.
opting out,
There you go.
and they're doing that. Some people, there's a definite percentage of people who lost everything, like a
Yeah.
job or a house and all that. There are people who choose it through like addiction, drugs and alcohol. So it's a cross section.
Wait, they choose it for addiction? What do you mean?
They choose it because of
As a result.
their addiction. Yeah, it was where they choose, say,
It's a
meth.
result of
It's
choice.
So
less
they have
responsibility too for them.
something.
But I give them that responsibility. I call it a choice.
I
So
agree.
Definitely.
it's not like I don't believe in victimhood.
No, me neither. They did
No,
choose
yeah.
to do that. I agree.
Hmm
And
And
they
there's-
I think
chose
you
to
should
live in a
help
tent.
somebody, but only to a certain point.
There's also probably some that are escaping a chaotic place.
Situations.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's definitely a cross representation of what's going on, but it's massive.
Yep.
If you drive around
Look at that.
Portland these days, it's at every intersection. It's behind all the bridges. It's in all the
Ah, man.
bush. It was not like this
Seattle,
just
that's
5
Seattle
years
right there.
ago.
I just put up a
That's
picture of
crazy.
Seattle.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
Seattle?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
Seattle right
That looks
there.
like fucking Ramadan.
It's
Right?
I
it's
mean,
because-
a Ramadi.
yeah. That's hilarious.
This is Haiti for comparison.
Yeah, right.
Put it in the Anaheim one.
I did. I was just
Tent
showing
City,
those.
Anaheim.
That was the
Oh,
first one, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Let's
But
see
it's
if it-
everywhere, especially out west because the weather stays warm
Oh.
here.
Would you put it in Atlanta? They have a tent city, a little tiny one.
I'm checking. I never knew.
I think every major city has them now.
I think Boston has a small one.
It gets cold as hell in Boston, so they they do tend to go west.
We've got a better term now: homeless camp.
Yes, that's the.
Well, Tent City harkens back to like the Gilded Age and when the soldiers rebelled and stuff. Remember, there was a Doctor Who episode. There was a Doctor Who episode where he like went back to that time. He had to become like the leader of the Tent City, and they were like really battling like whatever race, you know what I mean? That were the bastard millionaires or whatever.
I dig all the people that choose to opt out and they get in their vans and in RVs and stuff. Yeah. They don't consider themselves homeless though. There's a difference of mindset.
They consider themselves apartmentless.
They
or
don't,
a free man.
They don't. They can.
Free man, free woman.
Thank you, Nomad.
On the planet.
Okay,
yes, that's. I know, Jerry. Still.
I wonder if Freeman got his
rub my foot.
He probably did, because he lived like that. Freeman
could be.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of our great poets just left, and go to the woods. I mean, as cliche as that is, it's pretty true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. There's something great about reconnecting and being in nature.
Where is that? Chicago?
The Unabomber did that too.
No. Yeah, that's Seattle.
No, Seattle.
If you believe he was real.
Who, Santa?
There's a.
Oh, he was in that. Was it in the Stanford?
They're making a movie about him right now.
Who's that?
Oh, they already did. I think it's on Netflix.
Okay.
My son watched it.
Ooh.
But I had read about him a long time ago.
Tim
McVeigh.
The
Yes.
No, not Tim
Not
McVeigh.
Tim McVeigh. What was his name?
He was a Harvard
Ted
mathematician. Ted
Kaczynski. Yeah.
He was in. Was it? No, maybe it was Harvard.
He was in the Leary test experiment.
Yes.
The Sunday experiment where they give him LSD and they gave Houston Smith some LSD.
So was Manson.
And Manson was in that. It was the Sunday school experiments, and these professors took some volunteer psych department students from Harvard, and they gave them a Sunday service, just like but instead of the body of Christ, it was LSD on the body.
The acid test.
The mind of Christ.
Yeah, the acid.
Liquid
you guys
Kool-Aid.
know that two or three other like famous and big time mass murderers came from this tiny town that Manson came from.
Oh, more mass murderers there?
And I guarantee you there was some kind of CIA program they were running there too.
What town was that?
I don't remember, but if you want to know the source of that information, it's Peter Levenda.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Can we trust Peter Levenda?
Yeah,
I would say yes.
Even with the Necronomicon nonsense?
You can't trust that, but you can trust his other stuff.
Like everything, there's always the kernel of
Sinister
truth.
Forces,
right?
And
you can't discredit someone just because they got one thing wrong.
Right, one of those layers.
Personally,
he got it wrong. He just did a bad art.
Personally, I love Peter Levenda. I think he's awesome. I like the fact that he kind of poo-poos the magic aspect, the esoteric aspect. He recognizes it, but he's I get the feeling he's of the opinion it's not real.
No way, dude. No, he 100%. I don't.
No, he probably knows something. He researched the 9 very heavily.
He knows there's something about it.
Listen to the Cthulhu or the Lovecraft interview he did with Carl Wood.
Thing, man. I read all his books on it.
Either way, I would say most of us here also kind of realize that there is something about it.
I'm just saying. During that interview, I just got that sense from him that it wasn't real. Like it was.
No, I don't think he would think that at all. If you
which I thought was weird. Yeah.
I don't know what interview you're talking about, but when he talks about Cthulhu mythos, and I mean, at one point, he says that he didn't think it was real, and that he had never heard of Lovecraft. And he talks about his beginnings and whatever. But no, he's 100% in the metaphysical.
Okay. I didn't state what I meant actually properly.
Okay.
Not the Cthulhu mythos. The fact
magic in general.
The fact that it's being used by the elites to like fuck with us. That aspect of magic. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know if I have to look at the interview. I think. But to me, he seems to tie in the elites to magic directly, especially through.
Yeah.
I think Aaron said the 9
Yeah.
book, which is part of the Sinister Forces book. Which
Right. I was going to say the whole Sinister Forces series is fantastic.
Well, listen. If there's in that book, there's a seance in Maine that goes on in Maine, and in like the 50s and or 60s or so, early 60s, maybe late 50s, early 60s.
Attended by Ruth Payne Forbes, and
Young.
members of the Astor family.
Young.
Oh, really?
Right?
Yes.
And Arthur Young, who's my grandfather, is in my family, Aaron, as long as I knew her, Ruby. And my grandmother, Ruby. And I always wondered why. Always wondered why my family, like my grandma, my grandma's grandma, whatever, and had, we're all called Rubies. They were always Ruby with the blue eyes, because they had a red hair, and they were, they always practiced cards and were out like night. They were the kind of mystical.
Were they giants?
Sounds like the ladies in my line.
Yeah, that's just how I grew up. They were all Eastern Stars and stuff.
Yes,
blah, blah,
yeah.
Blah, blah, and all this.
Oddfellows and all
I
that.
had
Yeah.
no idea. I grew up, and then years later, Aaron, after reading Jim Marr's book, Ruled by Secrecy, that blew my mind when I was in high school. First conspiracy book I bought, got into it right then and there. And started looking into the occult more and CFR and all this stuff, and Nephilim and Anunnaki. And then years later, not till like maybe 4 years ago, I found actually years ago, or maybe longer, 10 years ago, where my brother was doing photo restorations on my family's photos. And he would put them on Flickr. And he's like, "Oh man, some of my photos got some people want to publish some of my photos for like $20. They give you like $20, and they use your photo for their book or their magazine or their website." I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty great." He's like, "Yeah, I already got like 3 offers." I'm like, "Oh yeah, and what?" He's like, "One of us on a grandfather." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, this guy right in is Arthur Young." So I'm like, "Oh no." He's like, "Yeah, and it's not too many photos we have." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right." And then years later, Peter Levende, I'm watching a random YouTube clip, and it's Peter Levende on the Secret Space Program, and he's putting up a slide, and he's talking about Kennedy and yada yada and this group in Maine. I'm like, that sounds weird. That sounds like what some of my grandparents would do. They're young, which was the photo of my brother. He took my brother.
No fucking shit.
I've been talking about it, yeah. Pretty funny, man. And if you listen to some of his interviews, he's like, someone asked him one time, "Have you talked to any of these relatives of the 9 or anything? Are they still out there?" He's like, "Yeah, I've talked to one of them." That's me. So,
wow.
Yeah,
what about that one story that Levende recants about I'm trying to remember that exactly.
Brandon, that's fucking awesome.
There's a ritual.
It's weird.
Sorry.
I'm blown away.
Yeah, no, that's
I
awesome.
am too. I'm blown away too.
No, it's very cool.
Nice.
Such a good story, dude.
Jared?
It was the coincidence of the ritual in one of the Cthulhu books, or the
yeah.
I don't remember if it was Mountains of Madness or Call of Cthulhu, that had this ritual that occurred on a specific date and time, which was a Lovecraftian hallmark, and it coincided with a ritual that Crowley did in Louisiana or New Orleans.
Yep.
Like 33 years later, or something. I forget the actual numbers.
No, you're right.
Does it have anything to do with the Code of 9? I missed part of the conversation. I'm sorry, I had to leave for a second.
It was the Council of 9.
Council of 9?
Yeah, the 9.
Or the 9.
So it doesn't.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Look up the Google. There's a good article on it called "The Seance That Changed America," because it ended up leading into remote viewing and the men who stare at goats and all that.
Yeah, Project Stargate. That's
what what's 3 times 3? Bam.
9. Bam.
Boom.
But I mean, is that like the 9 of code, like the Code of 9 though? Does that have anything to do with that?
No, that's a barcode.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Thank you.
Or the 3 of 9 is a barcode. There's a barcode format which is popular called 3 of 9.
Well,
Jerry,
a lot could be said about the number 9 itself, in terms of its numeric abilities.
It's crazy.
And supposedly Tesla was fascinated with the number 3 and 9 as well.
3, 6, and 9.
Kim knows the equation.
Well, I don't know it, but
I've got it written down somewhere, but the Egyptians have a set of gods there are 9 of them.
Oh yeah.
And so
the
do the
Netter.
Greeks, I think.
Yep.
And this might be a reference to the 9 planets potentially.
Yeah, this is juicy.
I was thinking that.
Yes.
I'm pretty much of the opinion that the whole sky is these lights emit energy frequencies, right? And it's their angle that
Angel.
Yeah, their angel. It's their angle,
Their personality
that allows you to get that frequency directed at you. You want to put it that way? If you're facing,
dude, what if?
And this is what's important.
What if all of space is a very complicated projector?
I think it is.
It could be, dude.
I think it's put it this way: if we were on a flat plane with a plexiglass ball around us with the stars on it that rotated, how would we know the difference?
Right. Yeah.
Because
unless
you're told,
we sent a probe and
right, and who does that? Just one group of people.
No, a few different.
Yeah, but they're all owned by NASA. All the space agencies are the same.
It's cross pollination.
Yeah, and it's all Nazis.
I've been in the Navy, Jerry. I've been in the Navy, man, and I never ran into any walls, bro.
How many times did you? I don't know what the shape is. I'm not saying it's flat. I'm just saying that's a model that works for me. You know,
it's a deep dish.
What?
Deep dish Earth.
I don't know what shape. I don't think it has a shape, to be honest. It's not.
Listen, no shape. Don't worry.
No shape.
It's an oblate, hollow spheroid.
We could be on a giant donut in the flat part. I think whatever all the continents are in is flat. I think that's like a flattened side or something of the spheroid. But I'm not even convinced.
The thing I always like to believe is that physically, there's a shape, but spiritually,
the shape is a toroid.
It can't be defined.
Right.
Spiritually, the shape cannot. It's probably an infinite plane.
Yes.
So it makes it seem that's the whole flat Earth distraction. I think
exactly nailed it. Yep.
It is. I agree, and we've talked about this many times. That we can't know the shape because it probably conforms to our subjectivity, our collective subjectivity.
Absolutely.
No.
But it's the energy field. Oh, is it 33? It's 22 after.
Holy shit. Am I still here?
Yeah, you are. But
yes, you are.
But we think this.
Wow,
we have been live for 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Until the major dropout.
12:22. Did you do that on purpose, Jerry?
I didn't do it. It's Hangouts.
Damn it.
9:22 here. That's awesome.
I got booted.
Oh, 12:22 here.
Everyone did.
You kept on saying it, Jerry, and then it happened. You know,
Wow.
you're like,
I kept saying 33.
You infected it.
Yeah, but
You're
so it
infected.
switched to 22.
I'm stalked by the AI.
Interesting.
So I'm
That's
just,
awesome.
All I'm saying is that the energetic field of Earth is a torus. It's a three-dimensional toroid. So
Fair enough.
in that shape is donut shaped.
I'm not gonna
It's
argue.
very possible that we could be in the middle on a flattened area that maybe is
And
even
then if-
still infinite because it's multidimensional.
And the people saying it's like pear-shaped possibly too.
That's just Neil
So we
deGrasse
still have the
Tyson.
same problems.
I know, but he's got a little following, you know.
So basically what we have to do is believe NASA or not. That's
Smoke
what we're left
DeGrasse
with.
Tyson.
Smoke DeGrasse.
Just say no.
Did you say
trend is
NASA was
too
connected to the
strong.
government?
NASA is run by the military.
100%.
Okay,
The-
so then I don't trust it. There you go. I
NASA
got it.
is run by a bunch of creepy cultist Nazi bastards.
Correct.
Listen,
Child
my cousin
molesting,
was-
murdering, lying, thieving,
Exactly.
cousin worked
den of
Hey.
vipers and thieves.
Amen's brother.
Hey, Omar
Yeah.
just said in chat, and I
And
just,
are we
I think
supposed
He's
agree with
just a
this.
regular scientist and geneticist. That's
Omar
all he
says
is,
that
an
we
engineer.
live in a water world. The world is inside our minds. Totally
All right,
true.
great.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
So
But,
true,
okay,
Omar.
My girlfriend's
So true.
dad, he's wicked cool,
Where
wicked
are
nice
we?
guy. He used to work for NASA.
You know, if
My
enough of us
uncle
believed
used to
there was
work for
another
NASA.
continent somewhere, it might show up.
They're
We
not
could-
all bad people. They're,
We could find it and move to it.
No, everyone in NASA is not bad, and to say that is
That's what I'm saying.
is or
Run by
Huge generalization.
It's
Like,
the organization.
top down, baby.
No, it's the
It's-
compartmentalization is what the problem is.
It is hugely compartmentalized, and you don't know that what you're working on in your physics experiment with
Right.
plasma is going to be militarized
Right.
eventually, like 20 years later, and turned into
I don't even
some
care about that.
technology.
I don't care about that so much as if you look at.
But that's what happens.
Okay,
with
but look at
NASA.
all the NASA researchers that are scientists that are working, right? Where are they
Mhm.
getting their data from?
Yeah, from themselves, I guess.
And all these universities, where are they getting their data from? And everybody just
A
does
lot from
research on data that they get from a single source.
But it's all correlated. Like if stuff didn't agree, they would find someone would be famous right away, and they'd be like, "Oh,
Okay, that's
you know,
fine for new
something, yeah.
discoveries, but when you're getting source data, I need the radio telescope data from the star, Altair.
Yeah, yeah.
And who do I get that from? NASA.
No, there should be a few other people that do radio data for.
But
I mean, maybe
they may
not for a
distribute
certain
it, but it all
segment.
comes from a single source. That's what I'm saying.
But then what you could do is say, okay, now, enemy of mine, see if you get the same data, the same signal. You know,
Enemies don't get to use our data.
You're gonna have to go to the
not enemy. I mean rival. Okay, so like Elon Musk. All right, see if you get the same rate. Point your radio signal at this star cluster and see what radio signal strength
Assuming
you
you
get.
could trust him as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
he's an
I know.
A.
And then try
I
someone.
mean,
someone
trust
you
is a
do trust.
big problem in our business.
And also think about the
agree,
fact
I
that this just happened. A rival all of a sudden showed up.
I gotta see that.
SpaceX.
Well, I
Just
think
at
that's
the
a
right
lo-
time where
actually
people are
think
starting to question everything.
the
Are
agenda.
any of them enemies?
And I know why this happened too, because I believe SpaceX is it was planned to come online and take over the NASA payloads and stuff and privatize it, because in a privatized organization, the public has no access to the
FOIA.
data, the telemetry data. We can't demand.
There's no FOIA request on a private company.
Exactly. There's no accountability once it's private. So now, if space gets handed off to SpaceX,
Carl.
That's a really good point.
if it gets
Yeah.
handed off,
Privatization, you don't have that.
right?
That's why they're doing
NASA
it.
fires everybody. They're just the paper pushers now, and boom, they can't be held accountable for any shenanigans that go on or have gone on in the past. Kind of like what Bear's doing with
Yeah,
Monsanto.
they can't reopen the books, right?
Right. Well, they've erased everything already anyway from the moon landings,
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, true.
like all the
Yeah,
telemetry
'cause
tapes.
they needed the space on the tapes.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Oh wait. I just saw something today where it said that somebody has NASA's original moon videos. You guys weren't you saying that? And then you could see that wires and stuff. What was that we were saying earlier?
That was me. I was talking about a video I saw where he was in the astronaut suit on set, and he was trying to stand up. So, part of the way, it looked like someone who had a wire rig set up to this astronaut just kind of helped him up by yanking on the wire rig, and it's pretty obvious that that's what happened.
I've seen that on a
I
shuttle.
watched that piece of footage about 8 to 10 times in a row, and I'll probably have to watch it some more before I'm 100% convinced, but I think I saw the astronaut who was trying to get up. I think I saw his left arm reach up and grab the other astronaut by the arm, and that's how he leveraged himself. That would be my only explanation. And I have seen other footage where it looks like you can see the glint of light beam off the wire when it hits a certain angle. It flashes. And
Let's
I
have a closer
suspect
look at it.
just playing antenna stuff that.
Oh, I gotta watch this.
But,
Okay. I've never
but it
seen
wouldn't.
it
I mean,
before.
nothing would surprise me these days. And I'm pretty sure we never did go to the moon. At least not when they said we did.
Right. Actually, that video. This is a good one.
If we go to the moon, like I'm dumbfounded that we haven't done something like pretty incredible with it yet, because it would be the ultimate satellite.
Right? Where's the HD footage?
Right. Well, it just tells me they can't get there.
Also,
So,
and like
this is
you
the
said,
thing
Jerry, like there maybe is some outer orbit where we can get pretty far out there.
Her hair is completely unnatural.
It's gelled. Well, okay,
It's like
first of all, when
mad.
there's so many things about this that are wrong, but I'll just... The fact that she's got long hair. What military organization allows you to have long hair like that?
You can have it as long as you want, as long as you tighten it up for women.
That doesn't look really tight.
No, it doesn't.
Why do they need belts in
It
space?
It looks like mad hairspray, really.
It does.
Totally.
And it doesn't move like it's weightless. Weightless should look like it's in water, like she's swimming.
Right.
But this is...
That's right.
It's stiff like it's gelled. But you'll see. That's not what we're talking about. They're big. The big thing they do... Okay, so this is how they prove they're in space. They do the somersault thing. When anyone asks them, are you in space? Well, of course I am. Watch this. And they do the somersault. I think they're upside down by the looks of their face. What?
That's what I was fucking
say,
point
Jerry.
the camera out of the window.
Well,
Give
they
us a
can't-
goddamn picture.
Because they're in a studio. Okay, so now watch this.
I know
This
that.
guy here in the U.S. Marine Corps shirt is going to reach over and grab a wire that's attached to this guy's
I've seen that. Yeah, play it.
right here. See
He
his
grabs
hand?
it right there. Yeah.
All right. He grabbed that wire. I can't. In that frame.
Yeah, the frame's a little off.
There's his hand is open.
Play it through real quick.
Okay, sorry. Oh, this guy's going to do it. I'm trying to mess with it. It's already this video. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
What obscures it is the microphone cord. And it's interesting because that blocks it in such a way that it's like, oh, that's not what's really going on.
You can clearly see
No,
the wire,
but
though.
with the fabric, yeah, I mean it's so
yeah.
obvious.
I know
Yeah,
it's
but-
obvious, but I think a lot of people would look at it and go,
Yeah. Well, I agree.
But
I mean,
this
once you
whole-
slow down and look at it like this.
This whole interview is interesting, and you can find it on YouTube without the commentary, but their actual interview, I think it was like Good Morning America or something like that. And the interviewer was saying, oh, I can't believe you're in space. You sound so clear, and you look so, like all this. He's like, oh, we're in space. He's like, you guys sound like you're in a parking lot in
some town somewhere.
in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't remember. It was funny.
No, we're in space. Look, I'll do a flip.
Yeah,
This inspired so many people to enter the sciences. How do you balance science with science fiction? They're both the
The Shatner.
They're both the same. I love that.
Well, that could still
So
go either
true.
way. I mean,
So
he-
truth
Suzanne, did you say, oh, I'm in space, I'll do a flip?
Yeah, yeah. What were you going to say, Kalendal? You're muted.
Jerry,
Yeah.
how do you explain like when people do the liquids? Are you just chalking that up to like CGI or?
No, they're on it.
No, I think
they're on the vomit comet.
Anti-gravity airplane.
They're on the vomit comet.
Or
Yeah, the
there
vomit comet.
is a low Earth orbit with limited gravity. Or
Exactly what I was saying.
Or there's
Point we can get up there where it's a little different.
yeah, under the dome.
Yep, absolutely.
No, don't. I don't believe in a dome at least.
I don't
Yeah,
believe in a
I
physical
know-
dome.
I know.
That's nonsense.
It-
But
it-
there's
it
probably
could be
a
just a
magnetic
concept.
It is. It's the Van Allen radiation belts. I'm telling you, that's the dome.
Yep, that
Well,
makes sense, dude.
It's not really a dome as much as it would be like
A barrier.
a limitation of physics. Like if the Earth is pulsating a frequency, a vibrationary rate, which sets the certain laws of physics that we have here, then traveling beyond the furthest ring of that state of frequency would be impossible because
Physics doesn't
there's
exist
not-
there.
Yeah, the physics that hold you together
Yes.
would not be beyond that threshold. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean by saying space doesn't exist as they explain it to us, because that's what I think the Earth generates this field, which is what we call the Van Allen
Well,
radiation belts. And
You could
That
create
makes
your
so
own
much
little
sense.
field You know, you could create a mock field or like an
Sure.
imitation field
Sure.
and make
that
that.
you know, that could be what the machines in Antarctica are. Maybe they generate the Van Allen belts. Who knows? You know, it could be so
Yeah.
many things. But we do know that it's a limitation. It's a hard, fast barrier. We can't get past it, allegedly.
They even admit it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it makes sense on so many different levels when you think about all the concepts of like typical conspiracy.
Yeah, and
It's like the edge of our little snow globe, you know.
Here, let me add some woo to that. Let me add some woo to that.
How
real quick.
about if because these days I believe they can get past it. The only problem is, in order for them to admit it, would mean that they would have to openly acknowledge some very high technology that they would rather us not know about.
And the biggest of that is that they've mastered and understood gravity for probably like 40 years now and haven't
Longer
released
than
it
that,
to anybody.
far longer than that. At least 150.
Yeah.
Breakaway civilizations.
Yep, that's
They
the
probably-
NIMSA and the 1901.
You're, I think that we all would be almost foolish to not fully be on board with the idea that they've had anti-gravitics for quite a long time, and that they have in fact mastered the ability to go past Van Allen, and that the only way that we would know about it is if we knew about the technology, which is why they're keeping it all quiet. They would rather us just not know anything and not move forward.
I don't think there's anything past the Van Allen belts. That construct. I think if there's anything else, it's dimensional, and that's the tech that they're hiding. Like Stargate, like a Stargate to Mars. You know, where does that go?
So the moon would
So
be
what you're suggesting is that
dimensional.
all the motions of all the stars and the planets, and the fact that I can look through a telescope and zoom in on certain planets and see features and watch the motions of stars and the motions of planets and comets and asteroids. You're telling me that's all a construct?
I don't know, but it's possible.
There's definitely an internal reference which validates kind of like what Jerry's saying, but I personally believe that this internalization, this reference where we go and look at the stars and say this beam of light is this star or whatever, is coming from an external source, which is, you could say, shining on the outside of this sphere.
Yes.
And then I think people do it just the same in their own psyches as we would kind of look at Jerry's speculation to this world. You know, we have our own understanding of what a tree is or certain words mean, and it's kind of like layers within layers, rings within rings, and that's why I think there is more beyond it, Jerry, because I think
I'm not saying there's not more.
is.
Just in our construct, I don't think there's an outside to that portion of it. I think that's like like the world, like if you're in a World of Warcraft game, that's one country. You know, you can't really leave there unless you go through a portal.
I think it's just likenable to continents and oceans, and Earth is its own continent specific, you know, so to say, and then space would be the next frontier or ocean or.
Like I said, that's possible. I accept that as a possibility, but it could also be something else. And
like the fact that maybe humans have unlimited potential, and that's the whole thing that's been being covered up over time.
Right, and we have to realize that before the barrier comes down or whatever. But before I forget my comment, because you basically said what I was going to say, kind of, Kill. You said that there's a connection, or there are external lights, the stars and whatnot. What if they are what we would see of the sun's, or maybe, the sun's connection to the field there? You know, it's a representation of the energetic field.
A large
of the sun.
part of what happened. No, dude,
Aren't we
that's
also
totally
connected with that though?
Yeah, all of the stuff's connected.
But then other light sources, man. You know, like all the stars, all the light coming from all the stars are converging at the here and now. And it's the way that these photons collide in this space that images and the sounds going to play out, and they kind of clash off of each other in a probabilistic way where, you know, potentials are played out. And there could be 10 times more stars out there who simply don't have photons of light that travel to this vector of the galaxy.
I would just say they have less influence here.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows? And you could say maybe there is life.
Well, okay,
but
well,
either way, the point would be that wouldn't mean that our life isn't special.
That's got nothing to do with it. What is
exactly, and I think that it seems like that's the whole thing.
You're
It's
distracting
making
me.
people forget. Oh.
Of the
the whole point,
stars
man.
that I've observed, they are sending out more than their frequency is complex. It's not, a G tone. it's not 800 megahertz, If you watch it, it's a very complicated, multicolored pattern. So it's emitting frequencies on many wavelengths and in a three-dimensional pattern, which I can't even visualize how that would look traveling through whatever space, I guess. Do you know what I mean? If
Carl
you watch,
agrees.
I've got 2 videos on my channel that I've filmed these stars. They look like dim lights underwater in a pool.
Well, yeah, you're looking through 20 miles of atmosphere
And you're also not using a telescope.
with temperature variations
They
and
look
pressure variations.
They look the same with telescopes, but I could see the damn moon fine. What the hell? Come on, that doesn't make sense.
No, you can't. You can see the same wavy variations in the atmosphere and the moon images too.
No, I can't. Not like this. You saw my star pictures.
Have you filmed Jupiter?
Yes.
With your P900? Can you see the moons pretty good?
I can see some of them when they're bright.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Can you zoom in and see the spot?
I could if I monkeyed with my exposure level because it's very bright. Sorry, it's very bright in the sky. Saturn.
The thing is, though, optically, a P900 would never compare to a legitimate telescope.
No, it can go to 2,000 millimeters. That's the focal length max. So any telescope beyond that would best it, of course.
And yeah,
I'm not trying to compare it to a telescope.
It is interesting though, because it is a interesting. I mean, the P900 is a great camera, and what it captures optically.
Actually, it's a shitty camera with a really fucking awesome zoom. To be honest.
So it's the zoom.
Ahead. The zoom makes.
So would that mean that it makes no sense whatsoever?
No. It's not a bad camera. Okay, it's just not the best
It's
camera.
an icon. That's the problem.
Well, see, the interesting thing that I kind of want to bring up is that a lot of people have captured very interesting images with P900s.
I know.
So what is that?
It's an augmented reality device.
Oh,
No,
dude, you just brought it down deep.
I'm kidding. What do you mean? What is that? Why are we getting these things? Because we've never seen things at a distance of 83 times optical regularly.
Oh yeah, most people don't. Most people haven't seen planets through a telescope.
This is true too, and now they're all over YouTube. All we see from the mainstream of celestial objects is CGI, maybe pictures of the moon, and but
No, Jerry,
Yeah.
hold on. That's almost an unfair statement because all they can use is sensor arrays to take in this input or this information, these electromagnetic frequencies.
Right.
That data to use the computer to generate the image.
I know.
And that's what any camera is. I mean, you can
Well,
call
a radio
a
telescope,
camera
that is
CGI.
true, but not an optical telescope.
I know, you're right. I wasn't trying to say that they were completely false and generated
Yeah. Well,
people
will blow that out of
Okay,
context.
they're
You know.
photoshopped. How's that? I don't know
So
what you want me to say.
now you're saying you're saying they took raw data and then altered it to make it look a particular kind of way.
I'm saying there's a difference between an image that has to go through a process which involves Photoshop and assemblage and whatnot versus snapping a picture that goes raw JPEG onto your memory card.
But also, what is it when I used, like, say, for instance, I use an actual physical optical lens, like a telescope, and see Saturn and see the rings of Saturn, or see Jupiter with its moons and see these pinpoints of light. Is that photoshopped?
No, what I
I've
was
seen the
trying, what I
stripes
was
on
trying,
Jupiter and the spot and the moons
So
with a
Yeah,
relatively
exactly. With a good telescope.
It's mine is not even that good of one. It's just an old, and I don't even know what version it is. It's like, in fact, it's the one that you see on the magazine from the 1960s that they sell
all
to
I was going to
kids.
say was that when we do look at these objects with a telescope or a camera or a peanut hunter or whatever, we're programmed to think about the pretty pictures we saw of these things before. So when you see Saturn in the rings, the one that I filmed, and it looks like a snail. It's really small. You know, I'm looking at this. I'm thinking in my head, oh, those rings must look really awesome. You know, I wish my camera was. You know, I have this picture in my head of what it looks like or what it's supposed to look like, and when I can't see that, I fill it in with my picture. See what I'm saying? We're all programmed to make that leap, and it's a leap of faith.
I totally have been engaging exactly that concept these last few days, and
Synchro.
where the fact of the observation ends and the speculation of your own imagination begins is an incredibly hard line to detect when there's so much riding on it, like terrestrials at all, or if you're alone in the universe, as far as you could call it, or something like that, you know. And a lot of people have, you know, lost friends depending upon their beliefs on this type of topic. So it's pretty
Which is so sad. So
Yeah.
sad that kind of thing actually happens. People lose friends.
I heard somebody
over
say
something so simple. And the whole thing is, we're humans. We're curious.
Apparently, we're not. We're the weird. The
Well-
curious ones are the weird ones.
Have you guys not lost friends? Because I have.
I think we all have.
I haven't.
And I remember the reason that people shied away from me.
The hair.
And it's because I sounded like a freaking evangelical. Because I sort of got a crash course. I mean, I was semi-awake from a teenager, but not even close to fully awake. Around 2004, I got a crash course. And for a couple of years after that, I sounded like an evangelical. I wouldn't shut up. And I would try to just bombard my friends and family with what I had been learning. And I sounded like an evangelical religious person. I just wouldn't shut up, and they couldn't.
A lot of people aren't ready for it.
And it's annoying, man. I would want to get away from it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I know conspiracy theorists who I can't fucking stand because they can't fucking shut up about the stuff.
I posted a YouTube video where an American dad, after he became a spiritual guru, and up to him, he's like, Raji Baba, I left you alone for 5 goddamn minutes. Can I have your holy touch now? And I think it's just like this spiritual fervor people take up when they start like coming into this stuff, and the whole like babies could be getting pedophilically raped and, you know, kidnapped by the millions on the planet and given to reptilians, you know, and this whole sensational thing upstarts, and you want to be subtle and you want to like start over. It's such a massive, crazy thing to observe even with your mind's eye that you end up getting lost, sounding like a crazy, babbling, heretical, you know, madman before anyone gets even close to the whole idea that you're trying to share with them.
No doubt.
And maybe that's part of the programming, because they don't want you to be able to actually find out some truth. So the truth is disinformed, propagated, and just skewed beyond belief, so that the people that pick up on it, unfortunately, there's so many people that only read the headline. And it just becomes like this epic snowball effect where maybe something that was legitimately true gets extremely distorted.
And then there's just the fact that just about everything to do with it is so dang sensational and out of this world. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Probably
actually
for a
we
reason.
talked about that with Son of Perdition earlier this evening before I came on with you guys, and we were, the question was, how do you even begin to, if you wanted like to just wake up a total stranger, someone who's not familiar with any of these topics, you're just at the bar one day and you're having a conversation with somebody out of the blue. How do you get someone who's just on the other side of the world with with the information? How do you break through?
You have
You
to
do it very
relate.
small. Yeah. You have to relate to that person. You have to see the eyes, the world through
Pick
their
and
eyes.
choose
Yeah, and you gotta
very
do it on a
specific
subtle way.
things from these areas that we discuss.
Say,
Things
like,
that
for example,
affect people
sports.
directly.
Yeah, imagine if it's sports, right? And then you're sitting around the bar watching the game, and then you refer to something.
Microphone,
Well,
Brandon.
isn't it? Yeah, well, it's not just the microphone; it's the AC in the background. But a commonality through sports or for whatever they're into, and point out the weirdness in that, and then that will lead them to question other things. But you can't shove it down their throat, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can't give somebody a crash course in an hour so that they
No.
understand all the stuff that we talk about.
Right,
It's just it's information overload, and you would look like a crazy guy, and they
Absolutely.
wouldn't get it even if you were really articulate.
Look at what
So
Alex
the thing
Jones
to do
did.
is to bring up one or two small topics that affect them directly. Like, for instance, your friend has a hybrid car. Remind them that 70% of the electricity to charge a car comes from coal burning. No, just throw a
That
few little
always
gems
burns the
of
rats.
information
Damn.
out there. Did you know? So you have that car for a reason, because you care about the environment. Well, did you know you're burning coal to supply the electric tension? Think about things.
Did you know the emblem on the Toyota symbols stands for the sun setting across the
Yeah, that's too
Axis
much.
Mundi?
That's the kind of thing you don't want to say.
That's where you lose someone.
Depends on
But
the
it is profound.
It is profound. So, see, when they start to get interested to look deeper, that's when you start talking about the really profound shit. Or
Right?
you don't
See, people in
necessarily
this chat will
go,
be like
throw it
stuff
out
like
right
that.
there.
And we
That's
can,
not your
yeah.
first pitch.
Absolutely.
I've
I
always
mean-
started off with questions.
What did you say,
Like,
Nomad,
asking
about
them
really good
questions.
approach.
That's a really good way to do it.
people in this chat?
They
What?
they answer them and they kind of move themselves into that conversation themselves. That's how I've always done it.
Socratic wisdom.
Not always.
Yeah.
That's what I've gotten to, is using questions and asking them questions.
Because
and
then you're
they
never
answer them. And
you're never actually saying anything to them. You're never
exactly.
forcing
They're
information on them.
confirming it. They're confirming it
Socratic
themselves. Yep.
Yep, that's smart.
Yep,
Well,
that is-
I've studied some psychology, so that's what I got from it, I guess. Always ask people questions. They'll walk themselves through it themselves.
Yeah.
There you
Some
go.
people
Well,
aren't
they
too
have
readily
to, so that's
answer,
smart.
but that
I
is
mean, you
smart.
can't force it on, and we all know that.
Especially just because it's so, it's in the air, like we don't really know if there's reptilians. We don't really know if millions of people are being kidnapped. We don't know if crime is nearly as high as they say it is, man. There's a lot that we really don't know.
True.
Right?
And a lot of what we do know is actually questionable.
Everything we know is questionable.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
It is. It definitely
But we
is.
got to start somewhere.
Like
right?
even the
So we-
story I told you earlier, where I said that this couple was arrested for feeding feral cats. I don't know if that's real. It's a news story.
But do we know that the prison industrial complex is real? Or is that fake too?
No, it's pretty real.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Did we lose people?
Yes, we can't talk about prisons, apparently.
We have another dropout.
It was at 53, 12,
53.
1253.
Damn, I got booted.
I've got
So did I.
954 here.
Jerry.
Which is 3. That's 11, by the way.
Master
3,
baby.
1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5.
Track it.
I
We need
did-
to
I
start
did-
up a log.
I did
Captain's
for-
log,
for the-
Jerry.
1, 9, 10.
For the first 5 hives, I did, and there was no pattern I saw. It usually had a 3 in it. That was the only pattern.
Well, what I thought was interesting, it was 12:53 when we all looked at the clock, and within 2 or 3 seconds of all of us looking at the clock, it switched over to 12:54, at least on
Yes.
my time zone.
Yes.
So that
Yep.
gives us the numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Excellent.
Bam.
I had
Good observation.
My email program the other day. I use Thunderbird, and it synchronizes with Gmail. And on the bottom taskbar, I have a picture of it. On the taskbar, it says synchronize, and it shows the date and time. And my last one, it said it synchronized at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, now I have to go change the luggage combination. I gotta change the combination on my luggage now.
I get a kick out of the fact that they are always at the gas pump be sure to hide your PIN number, right? But if you select credit and have to put your zip code in, they don't give a shit who you give your zip code to, right? And that's just as usable in those machines.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, well, you know what I heard? That if you use your debit card as a debit, as an EBT transaction, then you pay the 2 or the 3%. Some states it's 4%.
No,
and I learned. And if you choose credit with the same card, same bank card, I've got a Visa debit
The store
card.
pays.
And if they ask you credit or debit, I choose credit because they pay the 3 or 4% transaction fee to use the card.
Okay,
if that's true, that's gonna change
wait,
pretty soon.
Oh, I got something to talk about there. Hold on one second. The retailer always pays the fee unless they charge it back to the customer. Now,
yep.
ACH charges.
I had a retailer tell me to my face, this isn't something I heard from a kid in his basement online. In other words, I didn't get it from the internet. I got it from a retailer face to face, and he said, "We pay when it's credit, and you pay when it's debit."
But is it just for that specific place where that person worked?
I don't know.
Because there's
Maybe
a place
he was
in
wrong.
town.
Maybe he was wrong, and I'll have wrong information. I don't know.
I mean, so I know what you're saying. No, yeah, I know what you're saying because there's one place in town here that will charge the customer that percentage if they use a card.
Right.
But other places don't.
Right. Gas stations.
Only they did. So I think it's a choice.
So here's what I know because I work in the industry that uses credit cards. When a transaction can go through one of two ways. One's called an ACH, which is I forget what it stands for, automated clearinghouse, I believe. And when you do an ACH transaction, that's equivalent to a debit card transaction when you use your debit card and put your PIN number in. Those cost generally less than the fee on a regular credit card transaction, which is not a debit card transaction. So you've got these two types of transactions. One's called ACH, and I forget what the term is for the regular credit card one. And let's say Visa, usually you pay you as the retailer 2.99% to Visa plus a quarter or whatever your deal is for that transaction. Debit card transactions usually cost a flat fee, like 15 cents or 25 cents. No percent. Or if there is a percent, it's less, like 0.9%. Okay. That's usually when on all the credit card programs that I've been exposed to in the last 5 years, that's how they work. American Express is the one that's different. It has a higher fee and it's not bundled with much. Usually if you get Visa, MasterCard, Discover, all that crap. American Express is always separate because they have their own. They got something going on over at American Express. They make lots of TPS reports over there, if you know what I mean.
Banks they could use a fee for you to pay, but it's rare, apparently. That's what I'm finding out. So but you're right. When you run a credit, they do pay a fee, but when you run a debit and you pay some because of the less risk involved, because there's a little bit of risk. Because you can say, if I had like $5 in my credit card, and I could get at the gas station $25 worth of gas, or 20 before I ran out or something like that. So they're taking a little risk because they don't run the credit transaction till like the next day sometimes.
Right, because
Right. Same thing with the restaurants.
that used to be the case because credit cards would pre-auth. It's called a pre-auth, which they'd make a
pre-authorization.
Yeah, they'd make a semi. They'd make half of a transaction for the amount to test to make sure you had enough money. So
Right.
the actual transaction wouldn't go through, and they'll do that in restaurants because people add tips.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
So they do the pre-auth, you sign it, and they put in the tip, and then it totals it up. And the signed receipt is useless, actually. It's just in case they have to prove you were there.
Right. So it's
Any-
both.
Anyway,
And it makes you wonder,
the one thing I
is
was
the
going to
future going to be digitized currency?
Well, there's already the war on cash going on.
Oh, definitely. And I've heard about
that's what I wanna-
Visa.
Yes.
Visa actually implemented
I know exactly what you're going to say.
it was like a sample group in the restaurant business
Nope, it's
where
a
they
new
would
program. They're
yeah,
rolling
exactly.
out.
And
It's
they
a-
would essentially incentivize restaurants to go all digital
Oh yeah, I heard
and not
about
accept
that.
cash.
I heard about that. It's a huge
Yep.
financial incentive.
There's a problem with this. It's unconstitutional. Legal tender is legal tender.
Right? Exactly.
Is our currency considered legal tender still, the fiat currency we use?
I thought it was written on it.
I'm
See,
just
that's
seriously
why
asking a question because I don't know.
And that
that's
might
why
not
it's
be a real law,
interesting
too.
to go to businesses that only accept cash. Is that's not unconstitutional? And if anything, I'd rather probably support a business that only accepts cash.
I love businesses that only accept cash.
Right.
And then on an even more local level, trading.
There are a lot of that stuff happens out here. There are places you go
Oh,
that only take
nice.
cash, and there's some trading, and there's lots of crypto happening as well, which is
Let me paint you a picture
It's
of
a more
Northwest
localized.
Georgia.
Everything here is chained or, corporate owned restaurants. There's very,
Yeah.
very few mom and pop places. A. B. Visa and MasterCard are going to push this cashless shit on those chains because they're going to say, okay, we'll lower your fees if you do this. Because that's the incentive. We'll give you a
Yeah.
cheaper fee. You can basically they get to raise their prices for free if they don't take cash.
Also, they'll install it for free.
That's for the people who don't have credit cards. So they're trying to incentive that. It's a two-pronged thing. It's multi-pronged, but one is to get the cashless people to go digital. I'm sorry, the people who are all only cash, like the ones you love, Ned, to get them to start taking only credit cards. And that's where the big incentive is. And I think if this works, they're going to take it on with the larger retailers and say, you go all cash or go cashless rather, and we'll knock your fee, we'll knock a point off your fees. They already have negotiated fee rates, like Target, right? For example, or Kroger, or any store, any large chain. They already have. They don't pay what, some guy.
The more in debt you are, the better, because it supports the debt that already is happening.
Well, it all seemed like when I was in college, it was like the beginning of that whole Walmart fiasco where everything was coming to light with like predator pricing and all their practices. And so I got high on that because I love mom and pop stores, and I wrote a lot of papers about all that. And
oh, that's awesome.
But then there was we started to see that wave, right, where the same town, any town, America has all the same stuff, all the same chains, all of it. It all looks the same anywhere you are. So it's got Chili's, Walmart, Kroger's, Hardee's, IKEA. It's all the same.
It's like Georgia.
Well, Georgia was the first place I noticed that, Jerry, is what I'm saying. I was noticing it in Georgia first. And then I would, but so it seems by design way back then.
It was all revealed to us in Who Framed Roger Rabbit when the Crazy Tune dude bought the red car.
Oh yes, that's cracking me.
Oh.
I have to revisit that movie.
The judge. He was a judge.
Yeah, I need to revisit
And he
that.
killed.
It's funny that my takeaway from that film is I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Right.
I need to revisit clearly.
Killed Eddie's brother. And he talked high with the high pitched voice.
Yeah, I remember him.
God, that's the second. I think was that last night, Suzanne, where I said don't make Suzanne laugh. Where'd she go?
She went to get cigarettes or something.
No.
Don't
make her laugh too loud.
Also, that's
You'll
another
kill her.
good point about Roger Rabbit, to come away thinking you're not bad, you were just drawn that way.
Right. Well,
And that goes back to the whole space projection thing.
it's a deep statement, isn't it? It's in context to all this.
Wow, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, you always hear that phrase, truth is stranger than fiction.
We're all gonna have the fucking craziest dreams tonight.
Yay. Well, Mercury's
Yay.
going to be retrograde too.
Been having the craziest dreams for the past week, and I usually don't, but I wrote them down.
Aaron.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
I've had
They were
crazy
intense.
dreams.
Brandon, you
It
have
was
to
like
come
what-
on Nox Mente and talk about it.
Brandon,
Oh,
we
that'd
need
be
you on
cool.
Nox Mente. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it for sure, 100%.
Wait,
We're
I'm-
booking for September
Yeah,
now.
we're up to September.
Oh wow, nice. Yeah.
When?
Just let me know anytime.
And Aaron, we'd like you to come on too.
When?
We're in September right now with our booking. And so Jerry's got the calendar. I'm not looking at it.
August 20th is open.
August 20th.
Wait a minute. I'm
Ooh,
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. Wait. August,
My brother's coming to stay.
August 23rd, August 30th, September.
All right, the earlier the better for me, really. I'd love to go.
The 23rd, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh,
bust out
Brandon, the
dreams that-
23rd. Yes.
It was a real, and it connects to all my other dreams since I've been having since I was a kid. So it's really cool. It connects to some movies, and I don't know what it was.
Ooh, that
but it was
excites
awesome.
me.
I
Yeah,
can't
it was
wait to
really
hear
cool.
this.
And I'm gonna find the place that was in my dream because I know it was a high school or a middle school that I either went to or taught at. So I'm gonna find it. Get
This
back
is
to
going to
you.
be good. I like that you're on the 23rd. You know, that's such a high number.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Thank you. All right, I'll see you guys then.
Somebody send me a reminder, or how does this? What are we talking about here?
Our new show.
Nox Mente is another hangout, right?
No.
Well,
No.
it's more of like just the two co-hosts, Jerry
And me.
and in Speculum, yeah, and talking about dreams interpretation. Basically, like a.
Oh shit, I'm in.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't really
cool.
interpret. We listen.
You're right.
We have a set of
That's why I like it.
questions that's an evolving set of questions
Mhm.
that we go through, that Nish goes through. I kind of just, I'm the comic relief. And
Jerry.
You ask good questions too, from away from the list. You know, like you kind of go off of what's being talked about.
yeah,
You know.
I do. Well, that's my role. Because
That's a dynamic.
yeah, right, exactly. So
You
anyway,
guys make a good team.
You guys should
Thank
get CW Chanter on.
He wants to be on, and
Yeah.
we're gonna get him.
He said
We've
today
got
That's what it
his
seems
hangout.
like, and he's full of good ideas.
we've got Dark
He'll be on.
Journalist coming up.
Yep, Daniel's going to come
You got
on.
Daniel
Nice.
listening to come on
A
with
lot
you?
of projects
Yeah.
going on.
Nice.
What we do though,
it's
it's
so
an
awesome.
outline with. We want to keep. It's an evolving list of questions that we start out with basic background information to get an idea of workable symbols for each person. It kind of an idea from the collective unconscious to your personal unconscious, just in broad strokes. And then we transpire through a series of questions that we want to keep somewhat cohesive so that each guest, as people listen, you get to kind of get a deeper look into who they are, what's actually going on there. And then we want to see if there are some narratives that are congruent, that are lining up with other people.
And also, listeners can compare people together because the questions are they're not so subjective.
Right.
So you can look at people You could look at guests individually as data items and say, oh, that's kind of like this person. And it doesn't matter who they are.
And we are hoping to get a deeper insight into we all have this ability, right? What and we get esoteric with it. What is it? Where are we? Is it any different than this and all that? But what if we start getting collective dreams where people are dreaming the same thing? Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that would
That'd
be
be
awesome.
amazing.
Well,
That would be so cool.
Jerry,
I think
will,
that is going
Jerry
on.
will recall that it was probably I don't know how
Yes.
long ago it was that I brought that up on
2 months ago.
Jerry Hangout several months ago, where I said that I've tried this with my friends and families. I've been doing this for years, and my biggest problem is getting people to try with me, and that is physically try to have the same dream, try to meet each other. And and how would we know? Well,
Absolutely.
Remembering dreams is certainly the hard part. We
Getting
would have
back
to.
there. Yeah, meet at a place. For me, it was always Neverland. Peter Pan's little Neverland dream place.
Neverland
It was always-
Ranch?
Not the Neverland Ranch, the real Jam Barry cartoon.
I could
Which
see
I
you in
love.
Spider-Man underpants too.
Well, I love the idea of the Lost Boys, all my friends together, having fun, fighting down the teacher or enemy or, you know what I mean, authority figure with Captain Hook. So I would tell my friends, all right, we're going to dream this tonight. I'll meet you in Neverland. And I'd meet a couple, here and there. We'd talk about the adventures we had. And then we'd come home from school, I swear to God, and we would turn on the TV to catch the newest Peter Pan cartoon. And it was the exact dream we had just all had, which was so weird.
Oh my gosh, you gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But what
That
if
is
that
awesome.
was a distraction? No, that's pretty cool.
It was
I
cool.
was going to say that Andrew Bartzis has said
Yeah.
in his interviews with the mystical dude. Oh, I forget his name. I'm sorry.
Lodwiz?
No. So something mystical.
Mystic Brew dude?
No. It's an older guy. He lives up in the woods. Not Cliff
I don't
High.
know.
It doesn't matter. They're old interviews. There's 8 hours of them. And in that interview, he talks about what the New Age people would call the event, what's going to happen. And he was talking about, Bartzis was talking about what's going to lead up to that, which he says the children are going to start having collective dreams like that. More and more and more. And adults, the onset for adults, he said, would be in an escalation of deja vus, which then would start coinciding with other people's deja vus.
Yeah, he makes a lot more sense to me than Og for some reason. Og Tellez. I like him. I like Og's idea. I think they're good thought experiments. But when it comes down to wow, that really makes sense to me. That explains these weird phenomena that I've been having and stuff. I think Andrew's pretty smart and on point, and you can talk to him about anything under the sun, from history and mythology to space to physics. I mean, everything. I don't agree 100%. I've interviewed him. He's a friend of mine, but he's right about 99. But I agree with him about 99%. But
I have no
I don't have
problem
to
with him
agree with
at all.
everybody.
Yeah, I have no problem
I
with
have
it
no
all.
problem with him.
Yeah, he's cool, I think.
Some people do. I don't see why. Some people I've heard say that he sent demonic forces after. They claim astral attack. I don't believe any of that nonsense.
Prove
I'm
it to me
sorry.
first before, it's like I've heard that kind of shit about Simon Parks. Now, not that I endorse Simon Parks, but when people get too up in, I don't know, famous, I guess, internet famous, that they get attacked. And if that's brought upon by themselves or just jealous people, however.
Also, anywhere there's truth, there's trolls and shills.
And a lot of them are fucking AI chatbots.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird to think about.
It runs deep, my friends.
Balls deep.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying, trust is a big deal in this business. So, yeah,
and integrity.
Or internet famous or infamous.
Well, I don't know if it is, Aaron. Hear me out on this, right? So, the statistics show that the audience doesn't really care. The average audience member for a Fade to Black or Coast to Coast or any of the big shows, or any of the big people, David Wilk, anybody, you name them, they tune in for about 2.5 minutes. Either it be a website or a YouTube clip. Most of them come from YouTube. Their audience members that come from YouTube clips that they've seen about them and stuff like that, and other mainstream websites and stuff like that. So the audience is flipping over, and what they hear is just like buzzwords like secret space program and
The headlines.
the headlines.
Yep.
Yeah, we're a headline culture. How many people have said, "Did you see the story about this?" And you're like, "Oh, I read that story." No, I was really, when NASA said aliens, they meant like bacteria. You know what I mean? Like things like that. So
that kind
you
of
gotta
shit
look
happened a
beyond-
few months back with like flat Earth stuff. It kind of hit a mainstream peak, and then my brother even called me. What's
Yeah.
with this flat Earth stuff? I'm like, oh god.
and it did hit like a main.
It's perception control.
Perception control, but here's the thing: like radio hosts, like say Jamie Church or Coast to Coast, they don't care that most, like, there's that 5 or 10% of like diehard thinking logical people that were like, hey, 2 years ago this guy came on the show and predicted things that would happen within the year, like David Wilcock, and never came true, and nobody's holding him accountable for it at all. So, like, do we trust him? It doesn't matter if we trust him. It's just about market.
But he never had
And,
any proof that his
audience.
claim
It's
was
sad. I don't
true in
agree
the
with it.
first place. He
Right.
just
Yeah, even
put
that.
out this thing which is hearsay.
Yeah.
With no proof.
Richard Dolan brought up a really good point, and he said about Corey Good recently that and other people that call themselves whistleblowers. Listen, they're alleged whistleblowers. They're not even whistleblowers because they're alleged so when
Because they can't even verify
People are-
who they are.
or the program they were in or whatever, if they're whistleblowing what? A fake program that they made up in their heads. So like when somebody say, oh, whistleblower Corey Good, well, no, that's not true, because that's a way to manufacture the consent of the audience to saying, oh, well, he's a whistleblower, right?
Right,
That means, so you're already in your head that you accepted that he's a whistleblower, and that's not true. He's an alleged whistleblower.
But also,
Right, and
too,
it's interesting.
The people
I
who
heard that
present them have
conversation.
some. People who present them have. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree. Go ahead.
The people who present
I was just
them.
going to say.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
People who present them have a degree of credibility which people accept. That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely. And not only that, but it's interesting to see that there's a huge blowout within communities that most people don't follow. There's a huge blowout.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I
right?
know, right? It's not
MUFON's blown
mainstream.
apart.
Yeah. Well, it's not so full blown apart as there is a segment that was pretty powerfully funded and trying to make a name for themselves right away, and people call them BS. And it's a kind of a small contingent of MUFON in a way, and from what I hear anyway, it's like the old guard are kind of like, nah, sorry, but we have to because or whatever. But
And that's definitely one thing to keep your finger on the pulse of that.
I've got two
as it happens.
observations for MUFON.
Yeah.
One of which is that they're breaking down because they're part of the system, which is breaking down. A. Or
absolutely.
B, they're a dinosaur and ufology or whatever has moved on and they're got their feet in the ground because they're so nuts and bolts. That's another possibility, or part two of it, They don't want to move to that Jacques Vallée step. Look, no, there's crafts in the sky. We see them, If there's no rivets, it didn't happen.
Well, the thing is with Gaia is that they're so they're owned by, so they're well in the millions and millions of dollars of a company, right?
Right, but they have a ton of very varying content, and
I know that
they provide to any audience. So you can have both consciousness people and New Age people and yogis, and
that's something that's merged. All those segments. Andrew Barthes was telling me this, and it's true. If you look at this, I looked at the statistics. It's all the consciousness field, the New Age community, and the sort of paranormal field have all coalesced into one field since the mobile internet revolution, where everybody can access the internet mobily and stream and all that stuff right from the internet.
So wait,
right
here's
from
a
the palm of their
question.
hand.
So if
Yeah.
so let's say that, assuming we are not nuts and bolts people, which I'm pretty sure we're not, what does that represent then? That these people have coalesced these three things, one of which is a construct, part of the system, the New Age movement. And they've brought these other aspects in and said these are the same, or these are allowed under this tent.
Wait, can you? What do you mean by that exactly?
I don't know what I mean by that, actually.
All right.
But I'm just exploring it because so the New Age movement, I think we all agree, is kind of bogus.
Yep.
In that it was a social engineering program at first.
Yep.
Okay. And now this socially engineered program is accepting other presumably non-social engineered programs into its tent, into its under its wing.
Okay.
What does that mean? What does that represent? What are we seeing a coalescing of additional social engineering programs?
Oh yeah, I think
Or
so.
what if it's a distraction? What if truth is put out there? Yeah, I'll throw it out.
This is the
What
thing.
if
I really,
something like
really
the
think
New Age movement? Let's just say something like that, where it is connecting spirituality with the physical realms,
Right.
and then so it's putting a little bit of truth out there, and then subverting it to
Yeah.
make it seem crazy.
Yes.
And that's definitely true with the paranormal field.
Which would be
That's a known tactic.
and it would be a distractionary.
That's a great point.
Tactic.
But the other thing is that there's a lot of truth in things just because of the nature of this reality. That truth gets its way into The Simpsons somehow, you know? Certain truths make their way into media regardless of its intent. So even
True.
New Age movement has
Very
some
true.
truth to it. And it's
absolutely
it's imperative that one navigates the true things and really, researches.
And it
what's
makes me
what.
wonder if some of it is cover up. It's trying to cover up things that did get out there, like truth that actually leaked.
I'll give you a really small example, but it relates to this issue. My friend John Rasmus, as people know, the hoax hunter, the YouTuber. We're making a good video right now, but he noticed, he said something to me weird, and he what he does is, have you ever seen those paranormal shows where it's like ghost hunters, and they go around in a building and they scream at ghosts with like night vision on, and it's so corny and stuff.
With the Xbox thing that makes a little stick man.
The Kinect, the Kinect camera and stuff. Okay.
William Chappelle.
Well, there's a bunch of YouTubers like that, and they get like millions of followers or subscribers.
But they fake their videos.
They totally, and that's what John said. And he said what they do, instead of providing any fake, instead of any like, why did that happen, or any kind of like, what is it, what could it be, they just showed the footage and that's it. John says that like, because like he does have a couple of weird clips where accidentally, and I don't believe in orbs really until I saw this video. I was like, "Where's the orb?" He's like, "You didn't see it." He's like, "I'll zoom in on it for you," and he did, and you see this orb go by. I'm like, "Wow!" So that's the first orb I've seen ever, kind of. And he also captured he did the Charlie game, and I don't know if you know what that is, but when you set up like these two pencils on top of each other, and you say, "Charlie, Charlie, are you there?" and it will make a move. It's a spell kind of.
And then you blow out your nose real quietly, and you make the pencil move.
Yeah, but he didn't, because he was taping it from kind of far away, and you could hear his breathing and everything. And he did it for one to show that it was him breathing, but this one it actually moved. So we don't know for sure, but he's definitely. We've all seen weird things like that.
But John is a switched on dude. I mean, he already can see spirits.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think. Well, yeah, kind of in a way. I think. Yeah. He is
in the corners of rooms.
In the corners of the room, that's a big occult secret, man.
I know.
It's like, but it's not in feng shui. In the East, it's a very open, accepted concept that's been known for thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
years.
that's why they don't have any.
It's just been called-
Absolutely.
All these ghosts and hungry ghosts and
Yeah.
demons running around their house because they're all round. We have all the corners.
Right. Well,
Not only that,
John
but
mentioned-
why do young humans experience so much more?
Why do we
and
have
then
to
it gets
sit in
kind
a
of
corner
shut
when
off
we're
as
bad?
time goes on, right?
Maybe because they haven't had years of drinking fluoridated liquids.
Yep, they're pure. They're humans.
Interesting.
I mean, we were all there, and it makes you wonder if that's how deep the control scheme runs.
I discussed this with Jerry, on probably the same conversation that we were talking about dreams, because I remember specifically that around the age of 7 to 10 years old was when my dreams stopped being so remarkably vivid or frequent or rememberable.
It's a good point.
Yeah, didn't we have this discussion once before?
Yeah, we did.
I thought it sounded familiar.
What happened
Yeah, like
at that age? Was that when you hit puberty?
That's one thing
Isn't
that's
that
key. Also,
cool?
do you start wearing deodorant?
Interesting.
You start putting more chemicals on your body at
Between
that point.
7 and 10?
Did you get high a lot?
No.
Okay.
I didn't start getting high until I
Cool.
was a young teenager.
I was in 8th grade.
I think puberty is part of it for sure, but the chemical environment, you can't tell.
It's a combo.
When did they start putting fluoride in the water?
Always. Since
50s.
Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler.
Well, I
were the
know
first.
that, but I
40s or
mean, as an initiative here.
40s or 50s. It was right after the war, I think, wasn't it?
I thought it was earlier, but I could be wrong.
It's whenever
Or, like,
there
during
started
that
to
part?
be an abundance of coal ash, because that's what it's made from.
And aluminum manufacture.
Yeah, an aluminum manufacturer. So after the steel boom, after the 40s, 50s in there.
Wasn't it said to make your bones stronger and your teeth healthier? And that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm
supposed
gonna
to.
look it up.
Yeah.
I would guess it's probably between 47 and 53 because that's when all the fuckery started. The second wave after the Federal Reserve. We're at the 30-minute warning with 30 minutes left in the show. Whatever. I like that picture, Nish. She looks pissed.
You're gonna say
My
good
thing
chat
is
so
so
far.
weird. It's been moving round and round.
What is?
Aaron, can you come on the 30th, Nox Mente?
On the 30th.
Yes, Wednesday.
Wednesday? What time?
9 Eastern.
What time? I don't know what zone you're in.
He's by me.
Oh, so you guys are what, 9, Jerry?
I can actually go to his house and interview him in person.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not
Well, I
going
mean,
to,
I'm
but-
flexible, so whatever works since the two of you are in that same time zone.
It's at 9.
Yeah.
Nine is, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's book you.
Booked.
Okay.
Rufus Cat.
1945 looks to be like the solid date of fluoridating our water here.
Right after the war. Right after.
Yeah.
When was Operation Paperclip started?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was looking at something.
I was asking Nish to look at. She was on the Wikipedia page. She's on Wikipedia.
I'm looking. 1945.
Yeah, see? It was the Nazis.
Same. It was literally the same.
Yeah, the Nazi doctors came over and we fluoridate the water.
Yeah, they didn't even wait a little bit of time.
I'd almost say it's the war machine.
Hitler had such a great idea.
It wasn't Hitler, it was Mengele.
It was a scientist.
No, it was
wasn't
first.
It's the war machine, and if that's why in this day and age, anyone that war is subverted. There's no public wars. Granted, there are a lot of people that are awake.
There are
people
tons of
in our
public wars.
communities. Yeah, but people don't realize these things.
The war on drugs? The war on terrorism? Those are
Yeah,
public.
what is that though?
They're lies.
And those are the ones that everyone knows.
But everyone only knows lies.
Yeah, and people don't think about
So William
places like
Casey,
Syria being striked by bombs.
So
No,
William
no.
H.I.V. was right.
In what way?
Director of the CIA.
Yeah, about what?
When everything the American people knows is false, we'll know our disinfo campaign is complete.
Was it Casey or Dulles who
Exactly.
said that? Or some
No, it was
KGB
William
dude?
Casey.
Okay. Yeah, I know that. I've heard that before.
Either way, it doesn't even matter who said it. That is truth.
That's a frightening truth.
It is.
Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1945, first fluoridated city in America. Wow.
Why Grand Rapids, I wonder?
I mean,
I know. I don't know.
Might have
I
been
think
near
it's
a aluminum production plant or something.
No,
Well, and that's
one of the but one no there was a thinker that a scientist that did sorry about the noise, fluoridated experiments and stuff. He lived around there, I guess, according to Wikipedia. So
I just know that the dreams that I used to have when I was a kid were so vivid, so rememberable. I would wake up and I could remember the whole thing.
right.
And so frequent.
me
Ah,
too.
absolutely.
And imagine it being like, for me, it was so second nature that I went to school and then would tell my friends about where to meet up that night and how fun was last night, as if it were nothing, right? And then I would get home and watch the dreams that we had the previous night on TV. Man, that's how crazy it got. You know?
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
Yeah.
But that's one thing too why I bring up like the war machine. It is the biggest polluter on our planet, or
Yeah, for
plane, whatever you want to call it.
I think atomic weaponry is up there.
Oh, definitely. And we're connected with all of it.
We are. Yeah, absolutely. We're responsible for
So,
all of it.
and it makes you wonder, yeah, things change at puberty, but, what if it's all been co-opted with fluoridated water?
Both.
And the war machine alone pollutes so many natural water resources. It's sad.
And the mind and the
Yep.
everything. I mean, everything. Just the idea that you can destroy the entire Earth with the push of a button or a few buttons or whatever. That's scared. That puts a psychological trauma into the victim's head. Did you know? I guess I heard. All right, you guys might know this, but remember, I guess back in the day, my dad could tell me they would do it by going into a bunker for the atomic bomb that was going to happen when Russia hit or whatever. Like Robert Heinlein, the sci-fi writer, he had a bunker and all.
Yeah,
that
you
stuff.
would tell us about this. Yeah, I remember.
Do you know? Well, the reason for that was not to do, because you would probably die eventually, like very soon, because either a cave-in or from whatever, they didn't really protect you that great, but it was permanent grave for you. There's bodies floating around, being around what's left of the drain. That was the actual thinking that went into selling these bunkers back then. Can you believe that?
You cut out.
Well,
I didn't
Brandon,
really hear
what you were
said.
saying was really interesting. I just couldn't hear most of it. You were cutting out a lot for me.
Oh, sorry.
That's
The real reason was what? And now he's gone.
They wanted to put. No, I'm here. They wanted to make them into permanent graves, instead, so they would serve as permanent graves.
The bunkers?
So they wouldn't have all these giant bodies on the terrain that was left.
Gotcha. They just
for
could
the
cement
military to-
over it. They'd be sealed in cement, not
Exactly.
radioactive. Yeah.
Exactly. No outbreaks of, you know what I mean, of diseases or whatever, you know?
Yeah. There's actually another story circulating about a similar thing going on at like S4 Area 51, that they were pouring chemicals and radioactive plane parts and stuff into these holes, and they were burning them and then cementing them over. Did you ever hear about that?
I wouldn't be surprised. That's
I didn't hear
directly
about that.
pouring chemicals into the planet.
And burning them.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, wasn't it Groom Lake, which is like
Yeah.
isn't it a man-made lake?
I can't keep all the secret sites safe straight in my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they need it for the
That's
lake
the point, dude.
to cool the nuclear energy and stuff that they use.
Oh, I don't know about
They
that.
need that. Well, that would make sense. They would need a large body of water for the giant water supply that they constantly use and recycle.
There's no water at Groom Lake.
Are you serious?
It's a dry lake bed, I'm pretty sure. It's White Sands, Groom Lake, right? Same thing.
I don't know, man.
I think they needed it because it was flat and they could see from 40 miles away or 50
That's
miles
correct.
away. They could watch it
where
without obstruction.
I heard it was where they cool. All right, I thought it was where they cooled the radioactivity of the experiments. That I could be wrong.
That was probably Hoover Dam.
I don't know.
You remember all the crazy shit about Hoover Dam last year?
Yeah.
The Illuminati was going to blow up the Hoover Dam.
Well, that thing.
They still
the
might.
weird thing about the Hoover Dam is that it would, if there was an extinction level event, the Hoover Dam would tell whoever came here millions of years later or whatever, if it was still there, where we were from, because it's astrologically positioned and everything. And it's like a lot of codes in the Hoover Dam if you look into it.
And
there's these creepy, sort of stylized angels that have wings that look like the ears of Anubis.
That's right, man. Yeah, something like that inside. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So look, there's something about the Hoover Dam that's special.
There's astrological charts on the ground carved into the granite.
Yep.
It's funny. I just came across that information the other day as well. That's so weird.
I've driven across it a few times. I've stopped and observed it, and it's definitely a esoterically embedded place.
Interesting.
I think Mount Rushmore is too.
Yeah, me too. For some reason, I don't know.
The dude who made it was the same guy who made Stone Mountain, or designed and started Stone Mountain.
What's Stone Mountain?
It's this crazy ass Civil War stone statue in Georgia, which I'll get a picture of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a carving into a giant stone
mountain,
natural outcrop.
We had something like that in New Hampshire called
It's the largest carving in the world.
Okay, we had one called the Man in the Mountain in New Hampshire for a while.
Wait, you're from New Hampshire?
Boston.
Oh, yeah, I'm right there, man.
Are you really? Where?
I'm close. Southeast New Hampshire.
This is the carving up
Southeast
close.
New Hampshire, nice. So you're pretty like an hour away from me.
Yep.
Cool.
Is that clear?
Nice, dude.
Fucking clear. Who took these pictures?
We can meet up.
So that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's the largest carving in the world.
Oh, look at that.
And you could put a man on a horse, like living real man on a horse, and stand on the bridge of what's his name's nose there.
It's like
Robert E. Lee or
Robert E.
something?
Lee.
Yeah.
Is it Robert E. Lee?
It's like all general. It's like,
Yeah, Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and someone else.
here it is right here. Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis, yeah.
The park's leaders are listening to people on both sides. No, never mind, something else. But it was
Boss relief.
yeah, well it's carved. Yes.
A giant boss relief, yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow,
that's
so that's the guy
what
that
it
did
looks
these
like. Excuse me, and I'll show you
Faces in stone, Albert.
how far away it is and what it looks like. I mean, for scale. And this is, I think it's 1,500 feet tall. Stone Mountain.
I don't know. I don't remember how tall it is.
$1,500 dude. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like
I'm
almost
sorry,
a half mile.
1043. It's 1,043 feet tall.
Wow. Still.
So 1/5 of a mile. Or one. All right,
Wow,
that's right.
1/5, really? No.
That's right. That's right.
1/5 of a mile.
20%.
What? It's 1,000 something feet. You said?
Yeah, and a mile's
There's not-
5280.
Oh, is it? I thought it was 3,000.
Oh. No, it's
Either way, I
What
think
am I thinking of?
one thing we should take away from this is that life is amazing.
yeah. So right, and the dude who carved
If
this,
anything, that's the thing that's being distracted. the fact that life is extremely amazing, entertaining.
Sure is. Enjoy it while it lasts.
No, but there was
Yep.
some really interesting. Yeah, this dude Borglum, that's his name. Was like obsessed with getting Mount Rushmore done, and then he died, and he
Really?
yeah, and his son took over, and then they dropped funding for it. There's like all this shit about it.
Damn.
The coolest thing I thought was the Hall of Records. I'm trying to find here it is.
Hall of Records.
Yeah, behind Mount Rushmore,
Oh, right. Yes.
there's an
Like
unfinished.
in National Treasure.
Yeah, there's an unfinished hidey hole. Here it is.
Where is it?
I'm trying to find a faraway picture of it. This is what it looks like.
Where's Grim when you need him? You say hidey hole, expect Grim to pop in.
It looks kind of Egyptian to me, but this is the Hall of Records entrance that was started. It's right now. It's only it's not finished because he died, and they didn't want to pay for having it finished. But in there was going to be like a time. I don't know if it was a time capsule so much as a way for people to come see how it was built, when it was built, in like 1,000 years. It was Borglum's way. It was Borglum's way of making a time capsule and something memorable in the future.
Oh, that's right. That's coming back to me. Yep.
It really should have looked
I
like
saw
this,
like a
though.
Ken Burns documentary.
It was on like a History Channel is when I saw it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of neat. It's up really high. It's up high. There's no steps to it or anything.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
What?
And
You don't have a photo of it?
Pardon? I can't find
You don't
one
have
that's.
a photo of it?
They don't have any pictures from the back. I'm wondering if this thing even really exists now.
Really?
Because it's some kind of story. They have lots of pictures. We could see they have lots of pictures of the front. Let's see.
Hey, so did you guys see the Szechuan sauce thing with the Rick and Morty?
Yes. That was
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
pretty cool. I guess Rick and Morty is based on Dark and Marty, and that
Yes.
always made sense to me, but I never knew that.
It's the same cartoon. They just upgraded it, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, I never got that.
Here it is. I never saw a Doc and Marty.
Media memes.
This is what it looks like, the back. Or where this thing is. There was like this half unfinished walkway that was going to wind up to the top. Like where the slaves would drag stones to the top of the pyramid in the model of pyramid construction that we were taught.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like that's not. It's off to the side. The other cool thing I remember about Mount Rushmore is that whoever the second guy is, or this is Teddy Roosevelt, was supposed to be over here, or was more prominent. But when he was cutting it, I don't remember which one it was. I apologize. It caused the crack in the stone.
Oh, I think it was Lincoln that cracked, right?
I thought it was one of these two guys, but I don't remember.
Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt, and
Jackson or Jefferson. Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, is it Jefferson's not on there? Is he?
I don't know.
No, it's Jefferson, Lincoln.
It's a bunch of Masons on stone. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Anyway,
Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt,
and it's either it's not Jefferson Davis. He's on the other one. It's I think it's Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
It's not Ben
You're
Franklin.
probably right.
But anyway, when he was carving it, they were using jackhammers to carve these big chunks. Right. These things are massive. Anyway, they cracked it, and they couldn't finish it, so they had to scrap it. And you can actually see the crack because they never got enough. Because he died before they finished it, but the crack is still there. I forget where it is. Anyway, that's all. That was the lore I remember.
The crack is on Jefferson.
All right,
And
well,
I
you
see
guys,
the
I think
Hall
we're gonna
records you're
move
talking
along.
about.
Yeah, it was a cool show. Anyway, this is boring shit.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's all a distraction.
Yeah, but it's also art, though. You know.
No, it is, but it's art of
It's
what?
the art of distraction.
It's the
There you
system
go.
expressing itself.
Ba-dum-bum.
Oh, she's playing Grimm's part. Anyway, it's a cool show. I'll try and find it and put it in the show notes if I can. There will be
Oh,
no.
the vault. I see the vault. You gotta Google Mount Rushmore vault or Mount Rushmore records.
I did.
Search images. There's a ton. I see. It's like a big, like Indiana Jones type.
Yes.
Wasn't there a movie involving Mount Rushmore?
Yeah,
Yeah.
National Treasure.
Richie
Oh,
Rich.
yeah, that's right.
It was
Yep.
Richie Rich.
Oh wow! Look at this.
Yep, that
In
was
the
Richie
Ri-
Rich.
In the Richie Rich movie with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, dude, it's above. It's actually a.
It's kind of like in the back and up.
Yeah. Wow! Look at that.
All right, well, you guys, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys, but I'm gonna bail out of here.
All right, dude.
All right, Aaron.
Thanks for joining us. We're gonna be
Good night, Aaron.
wrapping
Good
up
night.
in 15 anyway.
Good
We're
night,
keeping these-
everybody.
Up the
And I've
good
got a
work.
note here to join you on the 30th at 9 o'clock. I'll be in
Yes.
touch with Jerry. I've got his. We've got our phone. We swap phone
Yeah.
numbers. He can text me or get a hold of me in several different ways if he wants to. So
You'll get an invite from Google.
Awesome. It's going to be great.
okay. All right, cool. Well, thanks for the invite, and it's been good talking to you guys. I'm out. Good night.
Good night, Aaron. Thanks. So
I like Aaron. He's cool.
very cool. Everyone's cool.
He did a great Jim Mars clip of Joseph Farrell playing a kind of a memorial to Jim Mars.
Was
May
it
he
the-
rest in peace.
Was it the thing he did yesterday on News and Views?
Oh, I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, I heard that.
Maybe
It was good.
was it yesterday? Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
It might have been the day before.
So someone told me once that Jim Mars was really the same actor who played David Rockefeller. So when David Rockefeller allegedly died, Jim Mars really died too. And that's why he's been in hiding for the last 3 months with this mysterious
That's
illness.
hilarious. You know who he looks like? You ever see the first Jurassic Park?
Yes. Yes. He looks like
looks
the old
like
man. But that's Attenborough, right? Was it not David?
Richard Attenborough. That's
Richard,
right.
yeah.
David. One of the other. Yeah.
It was David's the one on the not the naked ape guy, but the nature guy. He's the new Marlon Perkins.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, we're going to watch the wildebeest as they captured by lions and eaten.
Yeah. I love those documentaries. I love the BBC, man. I love their. You ever see the Great British Bake Off?
No.
My girlfriend. Oh, by the way, let me announce and tell this funny story that I meant to tell you, Jerry.
Okay.
So I was just going through Facebook like I do, like once every day or maybe twice a day, and I just happened to stumble on Jenny Moonstone's post, and it was
Jenny Moonbeam.
and I was just going. So I was Moonbeam, and no, Moonstone. So I went through her comments, and somebody was like, "Hey, you were on this. Somebody mentioned you on this on
You
this
told me
hangout."
this already.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was like, she's like, "Why didn't they tell me?" So I was like, I just said that you might be a guest sometime soon, right? So it was awkward, but whatever. But here's the cool thing is that, yeah, now it's definitely settled. Definitely going to have an interview, me and Jenny. So that will be fun. We're going to talk about alchemy and magic and Harry Potter, Game of Thrones.
You
she's
suck.
into all that stuff.
I
And
hate
she
you.
is nice. And so maybe she'll come on the Hive is what I'm getting at.
No, I would like you to invite her. I would like to we want to have her on Nox Mente. For
Yeah.
sure.
I'll tell her about that too.
Who just boogied?
So that'd be.
Man, she's having problems.
She's nice, man.
No.
She can run her mouth, man. Like she's not afraid to talk about
Anything.
pedo gay, anything, man, anything. So it's good. It's refreshing, man, because she's a real woman. You know what I mean? And like, and everyone else is here too. Is but I meant like, it's rare to find someone like that sometimes. Like Sarah. I love Sarah Adams, but
yeah,
I love Sarah Adams, but she's a little wishy-washy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like she was at some place and they said, "You're a world-renowned healer, right?" And she's like, "Yep." And it's like, what? Since when is she a world?
Since she said she was.
Yeah, exactly. Or self-proclaimed, you know what I mean? Like this or that. It's like
guru.
And then she acts like she's a god and all that.
Goddess.
I had a vision of Atlantis and people weren't happy. And then you have like a million comments that were like, "Yes, Sarah, preach." It's just like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like they're programmed to. I know, whatever. It's something. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I was going to say, did you hear? Let me find. Do you know who Captain Max
Jerry,
Steel is? What?
You posted that Radio Mysterio episode with, who was it? I think James Clarkson.
Yes. Was it Mysterio? Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, you're right.
And it explored almost the exact same thing you was just mentioning.
What was that?
It seemed like
he mentioned a lot of
about MUFON stuff.
Yeah, about MUFON, but also, oh, damn it! I lost my train of thought.
What were you talking about, Brandon? We will recap because I've forgotten what he
talked about. A lot of stuff, man.
No, just right now you were just saying we're talking about Jenny Moonstone. We'll talk about anything.
Yep.
We'll get her on the Hive. I want to get her on Nox Mente. And then you went into that was all he said.
Jenny Moonstone?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know.
Well, the Clarkson thing was talking about the rift within MUFON. The part that I don't think I finished listening to it actually, but I know they were talking about the rift, and they went into a little detail in the beginning about it, but it wasn't enough to like satisfy my understanding of what actually was going on. And I didn't know if it had anything to do with Corey Good too, so I was kind of confused.
Well, I think it's gone. It was even before Independent, from my understanding, and a little bit before Corey Good. So, like, did you hear about the whole thing? I think it's with that guy. His name is John Ventura. He's a guy, basically. John Rasmussen, I kind of liked him but he seemed a little arrogant and stuff, and that's probably why.
What was his last name?
John Ventura, Ventre. John, first name. And watch some of his lectures. I mean, he was a ufologist, head of his MUFON chapter and all this, and for a long, long time, and he wrote books and all this. But then after paranormal experiences and ghost and demonic poltergeist experience that he had, he came to the conclusion that aliens or demons, or some form of interdimensional demons.
Oh, this is the guy who caused all the problems, right? This guy was the rift, cause of the rift.
Something like that.
You weren't there. We didn't hear what you said.
That was weird.
He might have said something about homosexuals. I don't know, but I forget.
Right.
He went on a rant, and everybody got that red golden child of MUFON.
Everyone got what? You cut out again. We didn't hear it. Everyone got
Nick Redfern.
Yeah.
Everyone got out, and they protested. They said, "We will resign from MUFON if this is going to be the voice of MUFON." Right. And so they kicked John Ventura out, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the whole Corey Good thing happened. So this rift in MUFON has been going on for a long time, and that it maybe been a long time before that even. So.
Right, and I found out from someone else talking about MUFON. I think it was on Radio Mysterio, so it was probably Greg Bishop talking about how how MUFON's questions of the witnesses is somewhat leading. Like they'll ask.
Oh yeah.
If people have some kind of contact or visual contact, they'll ask, have you had any headaches?
Right. I saw something like that.
And
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people will call back the next day and say, I got a headache today.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Have you ever been to a MUFON meeting at all?
No, but I've reported something to the site and I've spoken to the local field investigator.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I never have, but I just remember the whatever local chapter, because they're all over the United States, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so they rented out this library space every month, and I was trying to get my own like little social justice club or some kind of club that I was doing political work for, and we were doing like a talk in the library to like organize and stuff like that, and these people would be so angry for space, and it's like you have to share the library space. It's not just MUFON. So I sat through one of their meetings, and it was basically like, all right, most of the people there were right off the street, were the homeless people that you'd see around town. Not to put any of those people down, but they were there to get food and just find a place to sleep. With air
Did they have a
conditioning or
really
whatever.
cool tent city there?
No, they had like a few of them, but they weren't cities. They were like little 3 or 4, 5, maybe 10 people. In New York, they have one that's like way down an abandoned subway line that no one uses, and it's kind of like underground, and like all these crazy rats live underneath there. There's a whole documentary on it. I think, what's the name of it? It's called like The Rat People of New York or something like. Not the Rat People, but it's like
Reminds me of
like the
Seattle.
underground.
I know what you're talking about, Brandon.
It's all what I mean? It's all black and white.
Yes.
And yeah, isn't that creepy?
It is.
Was that like used
Oh
by
my God.
They would Shanghai people there and they would imprison them there, but get them drunk or whatever, and then like make them work on a ship for a year.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think this might have been used by.
I mean, it was
at
used
one
by
point
hookers. This was like an
maybe-
underground criminal activity area.
I don't know.
All these tunnels under New York.
I don't think so, because it was so gross and dirty and like.
This was 150 years ago.
Yeah, it may. Okay, I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, that's the closest thing I can think of a tent city, but it's so hard to get to. Like the first shot of this film is this person walking there, and you see him go down the subway, like down to the subway in New York, and then they just start walking down this with a flashlight, this abandoned, long, miles long tunnel, and then they get to a part where they go underneath and they like go through dirt, and like they have to crawl and all this stuff, and like through rats and all this, and these giant rats. And then they finally get to this like little area where they're all hanging out, man. It's sad. It's sad.
You and Jerry are talking about different. I know what you're talking about, Brandon. And Jerry's talking about the Shanghai stuff that happened out here in the West, in Portland.
In the West, yeah.
That's what I'm sorry. I was thinking about Portland and Seattle. They've got all those underground.
Okay.
Yeah, but what Brandon's talking about, that documentary or whatever it was, is crazy.
Yeah. It's on it's a different level than I've ever seen. It was just like, whoa.
No,
it's a whole system. It's like an ecosystem. It's crazy.
That's a good way to put it. Ecosystem. It's a total ecosystem. It was stunning. I wish I could remember the name, because it's definitely on YouTube. I'm pretty sure.
That's what tent cities become after the prawns arrive. Our ecosystem.
It's the natural growth.
Oh, he's got it. Like, give me a link. I'm like, dude, I put the link everywhere. Like 4 hours.
You did not put it in Discord.
Yes, I did.
I
didn't get it at
I
all.
gave it to him.
I didn't know you guys were doing it.
I failed.
Failed. Oh, I'm having a deja vu, you guys. Intense deja vu.
What you were?
Because it's like the
Right
same
now?
group every week. Yeah.
No, this is it's different. Yes, it's the same group every week, but
Were
it's,
you screaming my name or something?
I
No.
wonder what I say.
and it was Brandon that triggered it. Strangely,
Ooh, weird.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
It's spiritual.
You
but
went
I
there
love you. I
underground
love
with
you, Feld.
rats.
Right on.
We all love Feld.
Are you in the bathtub?
Yeah, I was. No, I'm not. I'm downstairs.
Because
close to
everyone
my
who's
kids.
watching, last night we did a tubcast. Feld did a tubcast.
Total time. Yeah, it was freaking awesome.
Hey, Suzanne, in
Up
the
there,
chat, I
speed.
placed a screenshot of the general chat in which I placed the Hangouts link at 9:37 p.m. that you say I didn't do.
For some reason, I didn't get the whole. I didn't know you guys were doing this, but I was.
I sent you an email last
Sorry.
week.
I haven't looked. Oh, you did. I haven't looked at it since then.
I don't
Nick
check
and
my
were on.
Gmail often, actually. I
apologize, Jerry.
only made that to mask myself.
everyone needs to check out the video with you guys with no shirts. That
No, don't.
is, hey, you're gold.
I can't even
You're
watch it.
gold.
That was like the most funniest thing ever. Honestly, I
Did
laughed.
anybody get
I laughed so hard.
Anybody get what?
Did anybody record last night when he was subcasting?
Yeah, it went out live.
Oh, on your channel. Okay, okay.
It was
Yeah. Funny.
It was the crazy, insane Thursday hangout.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, I saw that a little bit.
But Jerry, you leaning back saying, "Look at my bitch tits," was too long.
Did you see them? Weren't they fucking hot?
I'm sad I missed that.
It was
It was
that scene
so
that
sad I
made me
missed that.
go back and put the disclaimer into the description.
Was I in that one?
Yeah.
You all were.
I was
It
saying
was
that-
failed and Jerry and Grim.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
Sean?
I had my shirt
And
off.
Sean.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! And
Yeah, we all did.
Kilgar.
Darren showed
Darren
up
was-
before
before
anybody started recording.
Right before we went live,
Took his
Darren.
shirt off.
No, it was Graham Dunlop from
Oh, Graham,
Grimerica. He
sorry.
was in there with
Yeah,
his shirt off, but his
Graham.
phone
Oh
died.
yeah.
Ouch. Sorry.
His phone
But
died.
that moment was, I couldn't even believe that moment was so good. You had been rubbing on your nipples and everything.
Well, I was trying to. I was
pulling on
claiming
his
that I
toes, how
stretched
long they
them.
were.
That I stretched my
Man.
Oh my god! Oh, I can't help it. It was just.
You didn't tell me you were recording that. You're all grabbing your nipples.
Dude, you were so wasted. We told you like 10 times.
It's one of the best videos ever. Oh my god!
I'm famous on YouTube
It
for
has-
stupid shit.
It has 5,000 views already.
No.
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 I
wish.
I actually have one video that's over 1,000.
Nice.
I don't remember what it was. It was a. It's like a mirror of an always record episode. I'm looking it up.
It's gold.
Do you guys see?
You should put it in
you
the
guys see
chat.
My painting? Did you see my painting?
Dude, I love your painting.
Your painting was awesome. That pirate ship reminded
It's
me
not-
of Black
You
Pearl.
keep on going, man.
Oh yeah, it's not done yet. I
That
just
was
gotta
awesome.
I gotta put another ship beside it, shooting at it.
Well,
It'll be good.
You
once it's
also
done.
posted those other paintings you did the other day, and those are fucking awesome.
No, yeah. Those are for the kids. They kept saying, I want a garden gnome for some reason. And I was like, it reminded me of Grimm. Because I called him a garden gnome.
See, I got one video that's 1,161 views. That's the most views.
The bitch tits video.
No. All
Oh.
like my top viewed videos on my channel aren't mine.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? The bitch tits is. Oh. So you want me to make it public? Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize it wasn't public.
It is not public,
It's pure gold.
but it's not private.
Oh my god.
It's unlisted. Now the world can see. Crazy.
Say, I watched it live last night, so
Somebody thumbs down.
it was freaking hilarious.
Whoever
I was
did
laughing
that-
so hard my tummy hurt.
YouTube needs to get rid of thumbs down. It's fucking mind control.
Is it controlling your mind, Jerry?
Not me, but everyone else, because they get all worried about, I have so many thumbs down. Plus, it affects your listings if you
I know.
if you monetize. Anyway.
That's
Anyway.
the third one.
What?
Oh, I was yelling. Sorry.
We didn't hear what you said.
And most people just press thumbs down because they know it affects you. You know.
I don't care. You could thumbs down only. I don't give a shit.
Well, I love you, Jerry, so I would give you thumbs ups.
Thank you, baby. We love you.
I always do. Yeah.
Yes, I would expect if you're on the panel to please give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And if you like it. And if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And don't come back. Fuck you.
I'm not even paying attention. To thumbs downs.
No, I never do either. That's ridiculous. So anyway, we're over 4 hours. I'm sick of punching my microphone.
Also, I would say no thumbs down.
Yeah, it should move to a +1 like Google.
If you don't like it, that's one thing. But the fact is, we want to support you guys' movement. So never thumbs down something that we do.
Right.
I mean, just because you don't like it, because there is actually an algorithm that does exist on things like YouTube.
Yeah, it does.
Fuck off. Oh, sorry.
If you have,
Wait, we're good.
It's like if you have more than 10% differential between likes and dislikes, it work. If you have like less than 90% likes, you won't show up in searches first, even if you're 100% match.
Exactly, and that's the thing that's rough when you're first starting out. If you get a thumbs down,
if you really care. I mean, if you're monetizing and you want to make, if you need eyeballs to make money to do this, yeah, it's going to affect you.
I'd say the whole point is spreading truth. And that's really where it matters. Who cares about money?
Right, but it only hurts people who monetize. It hurts people.
Or if you want your truth to get out and
That's
you're
what I was
getting
gonna
thumbs
say. It hurts
down, you're
people
not
who-
going to show up.
It hurts people who don't monetize because it blocks us from being found in search.
Exactly.
But just by the fact that we don't monetize blocks us from a certain amount of searching and a certain amount of exposure on the homepage, for instance.
That is true.
So, and even what you see, if you see your stuff on the homepage, it's not what everyone else sees. It's it's tailored for you. Anyway, with that, call this a wrap. High 15. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Right as
Good
I get here.
conversation.
Thank you, everyone in the chat, too.
Yeah, and if you guys have any ideas for next week, or if you come across stuff, let me know so I'll put it in the notes so we remember it. And thank you so much.
Definitely, let's end it with eternal love for everyone.
Or you could do the RuPaul thing. If you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else?
Say it,
Words
sister.
of wisdom.
All right.